Good morning as we head into day number 2 of the Masters, the last couple of games of the NBA regular season, and Lord knows what else, especially if you're just wandering the grounds at Augusta. And maybe you're not completely up to speed on how the ground rules work if you're a player, especially, JP.
No, seriously, I'll be terrified to walk around there because I wouldn't know when to cheer, or I'd honestly just stay silent throughout the entire thing and stay behind the rope. I do know that.
A lot going on. The Indiana Pacers once again pushing it right to the limit, but they come up big right down the stretch one more time. Went on a 10-0 run late. Tyrese Halliburton hit a couple of threes. Did you guys see the Obi Toppin between the legs dunk last night?
Yeah, I believe he's a top 5 in-game dunker ever. And I don't care what era you're talking. No one does a through-the-legs dunk, or what we call it in East Bay, as easily as Obi Toppin, KB. I have to give him his credit, his flowers. He really is a great in-game dunker.
Good Friday morning to everybody out there. Thank you very much for closing out the week with us. This is indeed the Fan Morning Show. He didn't even really get a running start.
It's his go-to dunk.
On that. And I'm like, when he caught it, I'm thinking to myself, there's no way he has enough room to do the between the legs. I mean, that is, to your point, James, that is the patented in-game Obi Toppin move. And I'm like, I don't think he's got enough runway. And then Obi's like, watch this. And certainly he threw that down last night. So it deserves, without question, to be celebrated. 49 wins, 2 to go, home court. Next Saturday or Sunday, you will get your Pacers playing a home game 1 here in round 1. We have not had that in over a decade, so that deserves to be praised. And again, when you were 10-15 and your star player had the injured offseason that he did, certainly this was not a slam dunk, but I guess to play off the Obi Toppin, emphatically the Pacers did get it done.
And your magic number's 1 now, right?
Indeed. I am a little nervous about how these final 2 will go, but if you would have told me at the start of the year, Mark, with 2 games left, I'd be in this position, I probably would have taken it. Sounds like the Magic will rest tonight. They're playing for nothing as well. And I'll be curious to see how the Pacers handle it. You know, second night of a back-to-back, I would think that screams a rest. But there is a little part of me, it's like, well, I don't know if I've loved how the Pacers have necessarily played basketball here for the better part of the last couple of weeks. Maybe I'm overly nitpicking, but let's be honest, last night, a huge reason why they won was because the Cavs did the same thing the Wizards did the other night, and they just sat their best players down the stretch.
Yeah, Ty Jerome looked like Michael Jordan for stretches of the game.
I was getting Elite 8 Purdue vibes, man.
Yeah.
That was giving me some PTSD, and Jared Allen just played a half, and somehow on the final possession of the game, they gave it to, what's his name, Jalen Tyson? I don't even know who the hell that guy was.
Yeah, it was rough at the end, and they would much rather, obviously, in a real type of game, have their best players out there taking that last
give
shot.
it to Sam Merrill at the end of the game.
Respect for them actually trying to look like they were going to go for the 3, but good defense from Nembhard.
Great defense from
and
Nembhard.
then missed the game tying 2, which I was so happy about. I think everybody there was happy about. Probably the Cavs as well. Like, we don't want to go to overtime. Let's just get out of here and give a little theater.
Kenny Atkinson gave you a little theater. He got thrown out in the game defending his second-string guys, and I kind of like that move from a coach. Like, you're my guys too.
Yeah. I mean, look, the 2 points were very beneficial for that exit that he had. And I think Ty might have split the free throws, but either way, big difference in the game. And I don't know if he wanted to coach the entire thing as well.
Well, it was a lot of fun to watch at the end the way it finally turned out, and there were fun moments during the game. Kevin, you're still in the weekend of heaven. You had all day yesterday to just kind of chill out and watch the Masters. What were your big takeaways from round 1?
Honestly, my biggest takeaway was about 12 o'clock yesterday.
Oh.
I look down at my phone, and I see 2 text messages from James Boyd. James and I are friends. I certainly respect James a whole lot. I enjoy our conversations for 15 hours every week, and the chance we do get to talk off air, I greatly appreciate those. And I thought, man, I don't know, this is kind of odd maybe for James to throw a couple texts my way just a mere 2 hours after we had last seen each other in studio. Folks, James Boyd's got the bug.
Oh, boy. Was he commenting hole by hole?
He needs to call his doctor. Folks, this is a man that is locked into the Masters. James Boyd is sending me articles that he is reading on the game of golf.
Yes.
Which one's fascinated
While
you the
Thomas
most?
Dietrich let James Boyd down, he is getting his fix by consuming Masters content. James, welcome, brother, and I don't think you're ever going to leave.
Yeah, so I took it to heart yesterday when I mentioned, I was like, hey, I don't know who Bryson DeChambeau is. And obviously we had a listener like in the YouTube chat like, man, you're on sports show, you should probably know who he is. And I'm like, yeah, great point. Good criticism. So I took it as constructive criticism and went back and read a story about him. Now I know that he's like this really kind of flamboyant, kind of out there Gen Z type of golfer, and it doesn't always play by all like the pristine rules, if that makes sense. Not a cheater is what I'm not insinuating. I mean, like just as far as the how you carry yourself.
He's doing it his own way.
Yeah, he can be a little, I guess, fratty in nature and things like that, a little fun. So I read about him, read about Scotty Scheffler, and also read a piece from The Athletic. And I told her I would give her a shout out, our golf writer, Gabby Herzig. She's awesome. Read a bunch of stuff from her yesterday, and she had a piece in this latest edition of The Athletic. I want to say it just came out yesterday, actually. It was about the mental side of golf, and is there scar tissue? So if you mess up on a hole at a big major and you blow it, like, for example, Rory did at the Masters, or like Jordan Spieth did at the Masters, she talked to them about what they've done to kind of mentally recover, going back to the scene of the crime. Rory's talked about getting hypnotized. And so I read the entire thing and thought it was fascinating. And I sent it to KB, and I was like, I'm down the rabbit hole, brother. Like, this is – so, yeah, I spent about 2 hours on my couch yesterday reading and watching the Masters.
LFG. Let's go.
Man, I mean,
it's true.
Go.
It's true.
And the first round delivered. I mean, you got everything from Fred Couples putting the ball in early from just off the green. You got Rory putting a little too much on it. I'm trying to remember. Was that 12?
Let's give Freddie Couples a bit more credit. Just off the green, he was 190 yards out with the eagle.
Yeah, you're
yesterday by Fred Couples there.
I was watching on the phone this morning, last night. So
one
that's
of the few people in the field that the women swoon over his looks and the men swoon over his tempo. Fred
that swing is amazing.
One thing I do love about the Masters, and you do get these stories. Fred Couples is 65 years old, and guys, he beat the number 2, 3, and 4 player in the field yesterday. 65-year-old Fred Couples beats number 2, 3, and 4 in the field. That's Rory. That is flat out Rory. You were in the middle of the fairway on 15, a par 5. That is one of the more birdieable holes out there. You're 4 under par. You're having a rather flawless opening round of golf. He could not have scripted through the first 14 and a half holes a better start, I would say, to his Masters. And he then makes a double on 15, chipping for eagle. He then makes a double on 17, chipping for birdie. That is why he's been the bridesmaid for the last decade in the game of golf. Like, Scotty Scheffler doesn't do that. What did Scotty Scheffler do yesterday? Ho-hum, bogey-free, 68. Scotty Scheffler's the Chiefs. He's inevitable. Rory McIlroy, that is exactly who Rory is. So that was, that was a kick in the you-know-what for the Rory faithful there in round 1. We'll see how he recovers today. And then Justin Rose, your leader at 7 under. He'll actually tee off here in about 90 minutes, so we'll get a little bit into his second round. He does have some history, a little bit of a mixed bag here lately, one of the older players in the field. But yeah, Justin Rose, 7 under par, 3-shot lead over Scotty Scheffler and Corey Connor.
You want to talk about inevitable? That is the 5th time that Justin Rose has been tied or solo for the lead after one round of the Masters. Isn't that crazy?
Do we have an update, Mark?
Well, I kept thinking that you picked Justin Rose and you picked Justin Thomas. So all night last night, I'm like, oh, God, Kevin's already running away with
Are you sure? I thought I picked Justin Rose. I thought Rosie is why I picked Justin Rose.
Not by my calculations,
have you?
We'll have to hear that tape.
Have you added the draft?
I have not. No. I figured that was your job, but I was just writing names down. I can do that if you'd like.
Jeez, Mark just throwing jabs at me here early.
It's Friday morning. He's good to go.
This is your baby
in the morning. Obviously, another item to get to on today's docket will be the Colts and their release of Matt Gay yesterday. That also kept James Boyd busy along.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be off, and I'm writing articles. I'm like, what the heck is this?
Masters stories. So definitely have some thoughts. I think when you look at the Matt Gay situation, James, you pointed it out very accurately a couple weeks ago when they signed Spencer Schrader. The Brian Windhorst,
Yeah.
Like, what's going on here? Like, this is a little bit more than just, hey, we had competition all over the roster. Now, did I think Matt Gay would be cut on April 10th? Let me be clear. I did not.
Same.
The timing of it makes me scratch my head a little bit here, but certainly it goes without saying Matt Gay did not sniff living up to the biggest kicker contract in NFL history when he signed that as a free agent, back a couple off seasons ago.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, we'll get into it, and I remember when I inquired about Spencer Schrader's contract and, talked to people about it behind the scenes and found out it was 2 years. per sources or whatever. And people were like, "Are you sure it's 2 years? Are you sure?" Like, because Over the Cap says it's 1 year, and I'm like, okay, wait a second here. Like, I love Over the Cap, but just trust me a little bit. But also, that made me kind of perk my ears up a bit more because 1 year deal with no guarantees is like, all right, he's just here for the summer. 2 years, I'm like, usually you don't have two kickers on the roster, for an entire season. So we'll see. I would imagine they bring somebody else in too, though, Jeff, to compete. I don't necessarily just hand him the job, but I would certainly imagine that Spencer Schrader is probably the leader in the dughouse at this point.
Coming off that contract, though, do they dare draft a kicker like in the 7th round this year? Or they just try to get some free agent guys in.
Gosh, when you ask that question, when you say, would you draft a kicker, I feel like you have to throw in a little bit of a caution flag. Like, no one puke here on this Friday morning, but would you spend a draft pick on a kicker? I feel like that's one of the scariest things an NFL GM can do is draft a kicker. Like, there's some instances where certainly it's worked, and then you have other instances where, like, if you get that wrong, your fan base just rakes you.
It should be.
You know what's crazy? Matt Gay was a 5th round pick.
5th round pick. And did not work out in Tampa
He was
Bay.
not good.
Right. And then goes to the Rams and kicks at a Super Bowl level, and then obviously comes here. So it is it's not college kicker volatility, but drafting a kicker. I mean, Jeff, I'm not discrediting the question at all. It's a question that I have on my mind. I don't think they would do that, but I mean, I also don't think Spencer Schrader just takes the keys to the kicking job and says, here I am week 1, and I'm definitely the kicker in 2025. So there's a lot, I think, branches to the Matt Gay move from yesterday.
Yeah, we'll get into that in great detail a little bit later on. All right, we will also check out what's ahead for the final weekend of the NBA. We'll look ahead at round 2 of the Masters. All that straight ahead for you on a Friday morning. Mark Dykton is a chipper, happy, giving mood today.
Well, I'm doing golf scores now. I'm tallying golf scores in the break.
Should we compare scorecards to make sure everyone's being honest about their scores?
Yeah, you got to sign your scorecard at the end.
I don't want to put too much on Mark's plate, but if some players make the cut, aka one of James's picks, miss the cut, we're gonna have to have some severe penalties for that.
Yeah.
Oh, tough. That's
an extra slider.
Bust out the Speedo, Kevin.
All right, it's all coming up next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Down. Brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. 2025-26 season tickets are on sale now. Registration for iconic Hinkle Fieldhouse premium seats runs through May 31st. Don't miss Hinkle Magic. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
The Indiana Pacers have won their 6th game in a row. Last night they beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, playing without their top 3-4 players. Pacers rolling right now, but they're not making it easy, Kevin. They always seem to need a little run with about 4 minutes to go against some of these teams.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on this Friday. Big picture, it's a hell of an accomplishment. Home court in round 1. I think that deserves to be celebrated. But if you want to look at the little picture, if you will, they certainly have not played basketball that will keep you alive for very long in the month of April here as of late. But I will echo what James said to open up the show. Fourth quarter shots from Jarris Walker. We now have seen this several games in a row. I think if you are formulating a playoff rotation, I would be hard-pressed not to have him in it. And I wouldn't have said that a month ago. I know Rick Carlisle pushed back on me earlier in the week about the volatility of Jarris's play time. He has had that. I mean, a month ago, he was 3 games in a row. He didn't play. Coach's decision. Rick Carlisle has changed that, and I think Jarris has also earned that. And again, last night he had a couple big fourth-quarter shots, and his length, I think, can help you out, especially if you play the Bucks. So that is something that is worth, I think, pointing out.
Yeah, I mean, after he hit the step-back 3 at the buzzer, no reaction at all. And I was like,
into the first quarter
this
there.
dude is very, very comfortable, and he looked comfortable the entire night. So I would definitely lean towards playing him in the playoffs, using his size, and you're going to need that kind of size against the teams you're going up against as well.
So Orlando tonight, that's a back-to-back. They're playing for nothing. Sunday in Cleveland, also playing for nothing. The Pacers could still get the 3 seed. The Knicks will close with the Pistons twice. The Pacers, again, have those 2 games, but there's no margin for error. The Pacers have got to win out, and the Knicks have to lose out. Frankly, I don't think there's that big of an advantage, maybe no advantage, frankly, to be the 3 versus the 4. In all likelihood, you would have a pathway of Detroit and then New York. If you were the 3 versus the 4, your pathway would be Milwaukee and then Cleveland.
Quick clarification, Milwaukee and Detroit play twice. Knicks play the Cavs and Nets down the stretch.
Yes, sorry. Bucks, Pistons.
And the Pistons have to win both games to
be the 5.
To be the 5,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. We've been keeping tabs on that for a while.
It's looking like Pacers Bucks. I mean, that's still looking like what the 4-5 will be.
More importantly, Kevin Bowen, Pacers are 49-31 with 2 games to go.
Yeah, I could maybe pay for Harry and Izzy's, full dinner.
Wow.
If we're able to hit this bet.
It just got escalated, James. Did you hear that?
Hey, I'm kind of Team KB on this one, man. These
sounds like after
sliders
round
don't pay
1,
for
I might
themselves.
need to be paying my bets, right?
Apparently, we missed Harry and Izzy's. They came by and dropped food off after the show.
Really?
Eddie's like, oh, Harry and Izzy's dropped food off for you guys. I'm like, well, none of us are there.
God bless them.
Thank you,
where
though.
is it?
I was
They
like,
got
enjoy lunch.
refrigerators around here?
We're good
I was
teammates.
like, enjoy lunch.
We're good teammates. We don't mind everybody else.
Hey, who is we?
I
I don't speak French.
Yeah, sometimes TJ McConnell shoots the jumper in the lane. He doesn't just pass to everybody. Come on now.
Speaking of that, did you see TJ got TJ'd last night?
Did. The Cavs bench erupted, which I respected.
Somebody snuck in. Who was it that snuck in behind him and stole the ball from him?
Honestly, can't remember.
I think it was that Porter Jr. who I thought there was another Porter Jr. on the Bucks. I was very confused by that last night.
No games last night for the Cubs or the Reds, and the Indianapolis Indians were rained out in Louisville, so they'll try again later on today. And as far as the Masters is concerned, Justin Rose, I still find this fascinating, Kevin. The 5th time he's been either tied or solo for the lead after 1 round of the Masters.
Yeah, it's kind of what Justin Rose does. 44 years old, certainly a guy that is accomplished major champion, but keeping it all the way through Sunday. How do you kind of view that? I mean, right now, if I would say, hey, you're going to put your money on Rose or Scotty Scheffler sitting there at 4 under.
Scotty Scheffler.
That's probably where you go. Now, Justin Rose tees off here in 90 minutes. So, a little overnight rain at Augusta potentially. Could he take advantage of that? We'll see. But, certainly an very impressive round 1 from him. And nothing says Rory McIlroy like those final 4 holes yesterday.
Yeah.
You guys want a Masters pool update for our little personal situation?
I think Indianapolis is on pins and needles waiting for that.
All right. Leading at the top of the leaderboard, Mr. Jeff Rickard, 5 under right now with his Xander Schauffele, Ludwig Aberg, and Jason Day, bringing him atop of the
Justin
leaderboard.
Rose. It's not going to last.
5 under. James, despite Thomas Gitry having 7 over par is even par right now.
So what is our penalty for missing the cut? I mean, is James done?
I don't know. That's
I
up to
think
you.
if you
This
miss
is
the
your
cut,
game.
you miss the cut,
tell
right?
me.
So if you miss the cut, you're
cut.
You are cut. So James Boyd, unless Thomas Dietrich all of a sudden does something incredible today, is done.
But Scheffler and DeChambeau help him out right there. Kevin and I are tied at 2 over par. So we're bringing up the rear right now.
It is early.
It's early.
It's Friday morning.
I could easily post a snowman somewhere on a par 3. I mean, that's how it goes.
Shout out to Freddie Couples, 65 years old yesterday, shooting 71, holing out from 190 yards in the 14th hole with a hybrid, I believe a colored golf ball as well.
Yeah, there's the bright fluorescent green or yellow.
I'd say he's one of us, but he's way too good looking at 65, and he has way too smooth of a swing for me to say that he's one of us.
I'm gathering my team at the break. I'm going to say, okay, Shane Lowry, keep doing what you're doing. John Rahm, Rory McIlroy, let's get a little better here.
Yeah,
and let's
Rahm
get out there.
Struggled yesterday,
He
3
did.
over, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So let's get back out there. I don't want to buy edamame beans for Jeff's lunch, so let's figure this out.
Shout out to Nick Dunlop, shot 90 yesterday.
Oof.
Didn't have a score in the 80s, but we had a 90 from Nick Dunlop with no 3-putts.
Did you hear he was getting rolled tide as he walked up the fairways, too?
Well, he got rolled by Augusta National yesterday.
No question about that. All right, so they'll get underway fairly quickly here in round 2, and we'll keep you up to date on how all that goes in a moment. All right, the final weekend of play in the NBA regular season, plus the Colts make an interesting move yesterday. We'll tell you all about that next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Couple of developments over the break here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Kevin, it felt like it was maybe a little harsh for me to just go straight to you're eliminated if one of your guys gets cut. What should be like the stroke penalty to keep somebody interested and invested over the weekend? Because it just doesn't seem right to just say, sorry, after Friday, you're gone. I don't know.
I think it's the right penalty.
Do you? You're into the harshness of it?
I mean, what do you do? Add 10 shots to the score?
That's what I was thinking. 10 was thinking, but like, I'm trying to work with you.
No,
here.
I mean, honestly, if I would be just as savage as Kevin in the situation.
Look at, it's kind of hard to say. Someone, Anthony, who I think had emailed in yesterday saying, we could pick, the over 40 golfer, the under 30 golfer, that sort of thing. Said you could maybe add up the position they finish.
Yeah.
So, if Thomas Dietrich finishes, 68th or something, then maybe you just go off of where they finish. We've done total score is our thought here. So I've crowned, whether he would like it or not, I've crowned Mark Dykton the commissioner here. So
wow,
I will allow Mark
here
to make
comes
the
the
final
savagery right now.
I think. I'm sorry, James. I think we do cut lists.
No, I'm fine. Like, this is what I would have done.
I know Kevin needs. Kevin and I are in the back of the bus right now. We need to move ahead. We need to get up here.
Yeah, you can't
to be fair, I think we all
James.
said that before the tournament started.
Yes.
I'm sure we could pull some audio on that. So
yeah, no, I like I said, I'm the most cutthroat person here. I feel like don't give me no sympathy.
Well, extraordinarily
and look at if you get cut. That's just more time to read about golf. Like you got more time to do that.
Not for real. I was locked in yesterday.
Let's drill down on this though, because there may be we've discovered some possible childhood trauma that you're still dealing with today. Because I asked Mark Dykton how his girls are doing and what they've got going on, and they've got what'd you say they got going on today?
So Brownsburg Schools has their annual dog dash going on. It's basically field day, but it's a good fundraiser thing going on. So the kids are all outside running around all day and everything. So good for them. They're doing that. And then I've been told by my wife, that we do have an event that we have to go up to Illinois for on Sunday. So I thought we were leaving today after they got out of school. And she's like, no, we're leaving Saturday. And I said, why are we leaving Saturday? And she's like, well, we've got like 4 Easter egg hunts to go to around town. I'm like, good God Almighty. And then James said that he was.
That's a busy bunny.
You're not kidding. So I are they doing eggs? I assume it's the plastic eggs with the cost of eggs these days. There's not real things going on.
I mean, and this led me to my point of my parents just missing the mark. The best thing about getting older is going back to your parents, you messed up. You didn't do a good job here, in this area of life.
I think at some point you will find yourself more grateful than you will on the other side.
Can we get next time you go have dinner with your folks? Can we just get a tape recorder?
Nah, this is like real. I'm not exaggerating for the show. I do this all the time. When I call my mom and she answers the phone or she doesn't answer it, and she'll call me back and I'm like, hey, when I call you, the world stops. I'm the best thing that ever happened to you, woman. And she just laughs and she's like, you're the most ridiculous kid ever. I don't know how I had you. But yeah, they didn't have Easter egg hunts for us growing up. We didn't get Easter baskets, none of this stuff. And then now I have god kids, and my mom's like, your god kid's going to be in town for Easter. You should go get a basket. I'm like, you didn't even do this for your own kid, your blood kid.
Wait till you have kids.
I'm like,
and see how your parents react.
This is the thing. When I have a kid, I'll have a choice in having the kid. When I'm a godparent, it was just kind of like, well, James is a pretty good, successful young man. He should be the godparent. No, I should not if I got to pay all this money for things.
You're paying alimony and you didn't even get to do anything.
I know I can't even claim one on my taxes.
See, this is the great part about this show. You can come on here. We don't even charge you for therapy here. We just let you get the poison out.
I appreciate it.
But Kevin, you've seen that with Max and Rosie, right? The way your folks now treat them as opposed to your memories of how you were treated. Not that you were treated badly or anything, but it's always a little bit more for the grandkids,
I mean, frankly, every time I change a diaper that's not number one, I'm like, damn, I should hug my parents and squeeze them even harder in how they raised me. By the way, speaking of some guests that will be joining us, coming up 9 o'clock, Chuck Pagano, one of my favorite events of the year tonight over at the Colts Complex, the Chuck Strong Gala. $15 million has been raised for cancer research, the IU Simon Cancer Center, over the history of this event. So kudos to the Irsay family. They have stood by this initiative really since day one, whether Chuck was an employee of theirs or not. Jim Kelly will be the, I'm not saying this correctly, but will be the cancer story featured, if you will. Jim Kelly will be in the building tonight. I think most people probably have seen Jim Kelly's story in terms of cancer. So that will be the event tonight. And Chuck Pagano, remember, Baltimore Ravens assistant Chuck Pagano now as he rejoined John Harbaugh's staff. He's going to join us coming up at 9 o'clock. So always a great event, and always enjoy our conversations with the former head coach.
Looking forward to that. Now, business-wise for the Colts, we mentioned it just a few moments ago, but Kevin, let's drill down on Matt Gay being outright released by the Colts yesterday, less than 2 years after he was signed to the largest contract in the NFL for a kicker.
He certainly did not sniff living up to that contract. That was clear. There was a point at time when this happened, I thought to myself, why not just run it back with Chase McLaughlin? I thought Chase McLaughlin, speaking of a former Illini for James Boyd, I thought he had been a fine kicker, and I thought he had really walked into Adam Vinatieri's shoes and handled it fairly well. I thought he should have been the kicker instead of Rodrigo Blankenship there early on, and if you look at it, McLaughlin has kicked great for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers each of the last 2 years. But I think Chris Ballard's thought was, hey, we have let's just throw out a letter grade. We have a B- kicking situation. Why not try to make it an A, if you will, with Matt Gay? Well, certainly that letter grade did not lead to that. Matt Gay really struggled from 50-plus. And in today's NFL, 50-plus is not a layup, but it's like a free throw. It used to be like a three-pointer or like a half-court shot. It's now a free throw. And Matt Gay was
11 of 22.
Yeah, I mean, he was Tristan Thompson from the line, if you look at it from last night.
3 of 9 last year.
He was struggling. And remember, he had that historic game in Baltimore.
I was there. That's what they knocked off Lamar Jackson with Gardner Minshew.
I mean, 4 makes from 50-plus, and since then, he just has not been able to hit anything from that distance. So, James, I think I was generally surprised by the timing of it. I thought they would ask Matt Gay to restructure his contract. That's the move I thought. Once they re-signed Spencer Schrader, or brought Spencer Schrader back, I should say, a couple weeks ago, I just assumed this kicking competition would play out. I didn't think the cap savings were that immense. What was it, $2.75 million?
Yeah.
I don't think that's earth-shattering. So I thought, A, they would try for a restructure with Matt Gay, and maybe they did, and he said no, and boom, this is the situation you have. But I don't look at the kicking situation and think Spencer Schrader should have the outright keys to the job either. So I'm a little torn on just kind of my overall thoughts on it.
Yeah, I would add there that they could have saved more money. They just designated him as a post-June 1 release.
Can you further explain that for our audience out there?
So the way his contract is set up, they will have created $2.75 million in cap space by releasing him right now. Now, if you wait till June 1st, it would have been 4.75. The money, as far as the dead money, I won't bore you with that, but the cap space purposes, you could have had an extra $2 million if you just waited a couple months. But it sounds like, from me doing some digging, they're pretty comfortable with their cap space as it is. I believe they're like 24.6 after this move, and in reality, they're not going to use all of it anyway. So they just moved on from them, immediately. The thing that made it more surprising for me, like you said, KB, in addition to the timing, was who it was for, in essence. Spencer Schrader has been good in a very, 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 did I say very, small sample size.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He has 5 field goal makes and attempts. He's made all his attempts in the NFL.
Nothing longer than 45 yards.
Right. So all the people who are like, man, this dude, Matt Gay, couldn't make for anything beyond 50. The other guy hasn't attempted beyond 50.
And again, Matt Gay made every single kick inside of 50 last season. So it's almost, if you want to continue the letter grades, Spencer Schrader's a rather incomplete.
Yes.
We just don't know. And, I followed him at Notre Dame, obviously, pretty closely. He has a leg, but it was an erratic leg in college. I think in the preseason, he might have showed off that leg a little bit. So I think he can make north of 50. But again, there was...
Can you make it more consistently than Matt Gay? I have no idea.
Right. So this is where I am torn of like, what are they about to do? I mean, Jeff asked the question, and again, it makes me almost want to hurl a little bit, but it's like, do you draft a kicker? Do you go with another undrafted kicker for competition? Do you like Spencer Schrader it again here this offseason? Do you find some veteran cast-off to compete with Spencer Schrader?
Adam Vinatieri, where are you?
Like, there will have to be, I think, something done here. So when you lay out those cap savings, James, and you mentioned that June 1st you could have saved even more, I figured at the very least you would have had Gay and Schrader compete in the spring.
That's what I thought.
I just assumed they would have some sort of kicking competition in the spring. Then you get to the post-June 1, and either A, you could make a decision then, or you could carry on this kicking competition through training camp. I mean, we see battles at kicker all throughout the league.
Yeah.
This time of year. That was my thought. So there is a part of me that just says, why now?
Still, yep.
And could you have restructured a little bit? Because I don't think the cap savings are that immense, frankly.
No.
And then also,
and he had no guarantee money left on his deal, so he would have been very open, I would assume, to restructuring versus just being outright
Get some more guaranteed money, right? Yeah.
And Spencer Schrader,
not getting more guaranteed money, just
but I mean,
getting less of an overall salary. To hey, do you still want to stay here? And we'll work it out that way.
Well, but what I was saying is you could lessen the contract and say, hey, let's restructure. We'll give you a little guarantee up front, but it's going to be less overall. Make it good for everybody if he did it that way. But to me, they just wanted to move on, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, and maybe I'm just a little confused, but they would not guarantee him any money going forward if he struggled this much already. Like, I guess your guarantee would be like you get a chance to be on the roster versus us just getting rid of you.
Yeah, and this is, to me, it's different than, like, let's play out what the Colts are doing at center right now. At center, in a way, they're saying, Ryan Kelly, and it might not be apples to apples, but Ryan Kelly, you make too much money for our liking anymore. And we have a guy in Tanner Bortolini that was a 4th-round pick out of Wisconsin that started 5 games a rookie, and we feel like it's time to go with a cheaper, younger option who we saw get a decent sample size as a rookie. At kicker, Spencer Schrader, to me, is not Tanner Bortolini. I think it's very unfair to say what Schrader did as a rookie is similar to what Bortolini showed. Not only the investment that you made in Bortolini versus Schrader, but also, to James's point, again, Schrader made 5 field goals and all inside of 45 yards. That's a little bit different here. Cody asks, was this need to make room for Trey Hendrickson? Again, James, I just don't think $2.75 million all of a sudden means Trey Hendrickson, here's the drive up I-74, stop at La Rosa's in Batesville and come on down. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't view it in that light.
No, I don't either, just because Trey Hendrickson is such an expensive player. And I don't know if 2.75, 4.75, whether you waited to do it now or later, will make that much a difference. And keep in mind, it's the Bengals we're talking about, and they're known for, if they want to keep a player under contract, they do it. And they will do it and drag you kicking and screaming if they have to do it. So for those out there still kind of hoping and praying for the Trey Hendrickson thing, I would not hold my breath.
I do have a little regret. I went back, James, because I had forgotten this. I was like, hey, did we ask Ballard about Matt Gay in the season-ending presser? And so I went back and looked at my notes from that press conference, and I don't know how you do it, but I try to rank questions of, like, super urgent, not as urgent.
Yeah. If I get time.
Right, literally. and under the if I have time, I had on there, do you feel Matt Gay has lived up to his contract?
Same for me at the owners' meetings. I forgot to ask about it, but at the same time, it's like, do I want to use a question on Matt Gay, or do I want to get you to explain a little bit more about Anthony and Daniel Jones?
And I guess,
I didn't expect this to be, and obviously I'm not in the room making the decisions on who stays and who goes right now, but I just assumed we would have more time to kind of dive into this versus the more pressing issue of the quarterback competition. So I'm learning, Chris Ballard, to always keep one in the chamber for you, because you never know.
And I guess if I can answer, again, do you feel Matt Gay has lived up to the contract? I mean, the answer is certainly no. Like, he's paid to be an A kicker, and he's been like a D-plus kicker. I think that's like a pretty, like, if you want to succinctly sum it up into school terms, that's right. But then I would ask, what grade do you have now?
It has to be an incomplete, right?
And that's where I'm a little torn. It's like, okay, Schrader, while he had a nice, for an undrafted free agent, he did a really nice job kicking, it's a little bit incomplete as of now. So, what are you going to do to add to it? I think that's probably where the conversation now turns to kicker.
The other thing that's fascinating, too, just league-wide, when you're talking about the percentages that are expected from guys at 50-plus. In the NFL now, James, you get to the 35-yard line, teams are expecting their kickers to provide them with points at this point in time.
Absolutely, and that's the thing that you probably didn't want to go into 2025 with, like a sort of limit to what you can do offensively, because it's like, all right, we know if we're in a position where it's beyond 50 yards, he probably won't make this, or he'll have, only a 50% chance, at least through the first 2 seasons here, of making this kick. Whereas with other teams, it's kind of like, we know our guy 75% of the time can make this kick. And then on top of that, he's playing in a dome for half his games. And so when you're struggling with no elements, it's like that's kind of even more alarming. You know what I mean? Like, you're not playing in Cincinnati or in Cleveland where it's like, all right, you kicked from 50, but you had crazy wind and snow. It's like, it's 72 in here, and we got to get you to make these kicks. So again, I just think that it puts a lot of pressure on Spencer Schrader. I'd imagine they bring in another kicker. Whether it's through the draft, that to me still would be kind of surprising, because I'm like, man, that's a big resource to use on the kicker, who again may not even be worth that pick, and it may not be that good at that pick. So we'll see. But I know that they were really high on Spencer Schrader because they kept bringing him back, and we'll see if he's up for the challenge, because he certainly has some shoes to fill. I won't say like huge shoes, but again, he didn't miss from inside 50, and so that's like the bare minimum, in my opinion. Spencer Schrader, you got to do that and more. And are you ready for that as a 25-year-old second-year pro who's only kicked 5 field goals in 4 NFL games? And keep in mind, too, he ended last year on IR with the right hamstring injury. He's probably healthy now, but I'm just saying, like, I know with Matt Gay, and to be kind of fair to him, he had the hernia, he had the hip stuff, and you would hope that, or the Colts would have to feel very comfortable knowing that Spencer Schrader, all the hamstring stuff is behind you, because no one wants to hear, oh, man, I'm not feeling my as great as I was, or I'm not 100%. Like, nah, man, you got to kick.
We will hear from Chris Ballard, by the way, next week, Thursday. He'll have his pre-draft presser. Part of that presser is also, I think, these sorts of questions, James, like what
it's Kicker's first question. Kicker.
About free agency, and we are 2 weeks away from the draft. Day 2 of the draft would be coming up 2 weeks from today. Again, Pacers will be in action tonight. It is fan appreciation night. I'll be very curious to see how much they play their frontline guys. Do you expect them to go for it? And I guess by it, at this point, it means 50 wins, and if you want the 3 seed, or do you say, no, you can weirdly like improve some draft position if you lose these final 2 games? You'd rather be the 4 than the 3.
I think you go for it tonight, because you are possibly still trying to move up to that number 3 spot. Or Orlando is in here tonight. Obviously, the Bucks and Pistons start the first of 2 straight games against one another. You play it tonight straight just to kind of see how things go, right? And then if everything's set in stone, then you can take off on Sunday.
Exactly. So we'll see. I know KB's like, play him so I can get to my 50 win, bet. I'm the most important person here.
I'm a heavily biased one.
I thought about going to pregame and kind of reminding Tyrese, like, hey, man, we got some people, that are, I don't know if he loves the parlayers too much, but in all seriousness, I do think that as long as you have a chance to continue to move up, then you're probably want to go for it, as long as you're not playing a guy who might be banged up or something like that.
Last night, the Pacers get the win, 114-112 over the Cleveland Cavaliers. And once again, James, up until the last couple of minutes of the game, you're wondering if they were going to get it together and pull this game out in a game in which Cleveland's not playing Darius Garland, they're not playing Donovan Mitchell, they're not playing a couple of other guys as well.
Yeah, this was a game that was different, obviously, than the tanking Wizards and some of the bad, I know the Utah Jazz were in here not too long ago, in Charlotte. But to me, I was watching that game and thinking, the Cavs are on another level. This is like a 2-team conference as far as who are the top tier teams. I think it's Boston and Cleveland, and then everybody else is underneath them. Not saying that the Pacers can't compete with them on any given night, because as I've been reminded of by Pacers fans, they did beat Cleveland this year without Tyrese Halliburton earlier this season, when obviously nobody was resting and the guys were out due to injury. But they went, I believe, on the road to Cleveland and won. And so they have the talent to do it. But my goodness, has Cleveland's just bench and their talent development taken off. Because Ty Jerome, he looked like a player. I would argue, like, when he was on the floor before he obviously took the rest of the night off, he was the best player on the floor.
Oh, easily.
I mean, he was balling. I was like, when did he get this good?
And he has been very good this season, to be fair. For those that haven't watched Cleveland, last night he looked, he looked like Kyle Guy and Ty Jerome had created a kid at Virginia somehow.
Yeah.
And that's how good he looked. But he has
DeAndre Hunter as well played really good. I mean, they're a scary team.
You kind of forget. I mean, Okoro's like their 8th guy, and at one point he was like a starter for them playing huge minutes. I mean, Jared Allen also didn't play in the second half. I mean, again, if you want to live in the short-term bubble, and that's where I'm a little confused isn't the right word, but on this Friday morning, it's like clinching home court for the first time in 11 years deserves to be celebrated. But if we also want to react to just the 48 minutes last night, or even go back to Tuesday night with the Wizards, guys, the Pacers largely won these games because the other team just sat their dudes. And in Cleveland's case, not only did they have, Mobley, Garland, Strus, and Mitchell in street clothes, Ty Jerome didn't go back in the game for the final quarter and a half. Jared Allen didn't play in the second half. I mean, they literally gave the ball to a guy named Jalen Tyson. Guys, Jalen Tyson's made 3 shots in the last month and a half, and he's shooting their game winner last night to try and send the game into overtime. So I don't know how much we should pay attention to that for the playoffs, because the Pacers did play their guys last night. They did go for it, the phrase we've used a couple times here this morning. I still think, what we saw in Denver, earlier this week at this point, is indicative of kind of who they can be, but they have largely played with fire against poor to below average to non-playoff competition, and I don't think you can totally ignore that either.
Yeah.
And issues with the zone, too. Like, I just see Milwaukee throwing a lot of zone at Indiana, and weirdly, for how gifted the Pacers are offensively, I feel like another team throws zone at them, it just really bogs the Pacers down.
All that is true. If you want to look at it on the bright side, each time they've needed to come through late in the game, they have done that. Last night they had the 10-0 run, and there's your big guy, Tyrese Halliburton, hitting a couple of pure threes to kind of push him over the top. So everything you guys have said is true. Everything we've said all morning long is absolutely true. I've been using the term playing with their food with some of these teams, but they have been able to find ways to do just enough at the end to not get stung by it, JB.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to point out, because Tony East is smarter than me when it comes to these things, he put this out there after the game yesterday. He said, say what you want about 50 wins. Talking to you, KB. He was not, but I am. He said specific matchups, etc.
Words for Tony here.
He said, I won't tell you what to think, but Pacers can move up like 6 spots in the draft order if they rest their guys the rest of the way. And so that's something that they would consider. It's like, does your first round pick move up 6 or 7 spots by resting, and you still get into the playoffs and you still have home court advantage? Is that something you consider for your short-term future and your long-term future as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think sitting makes a whole lot of sense. I mean, I don't.
See, that's why you got to be more selfish, man.
Like, last night, I'm trying to think, was it?
I'm disappointed. You got to be like, nah, I'm going to call Tyrese up. Hey, man.
I think it was Halliburton going for that loose ball, and maybe it was the 3 he hit in Hunter's face, and Hunter kind of falls on him. I'm like, the last thing you need right now is for that to, like, you have the health advantage over the Bucks.
This is true.
There's part of me is like, don't ruin that health advantage. And again, I'm coming from if I can put my biased self to the side here, I don't know. The only way I could be convinced a little otherwise is like maybe on Sunday, like you don't play him tonight in the back-to-back. And again, it sounds like Orlando's going to sit a lot of their guys tonight because they have locked into the 7 seed. Sunday afternoon, would you play guys to avoid 9 days of rest? Like, do you get to Sunday and say, all right, they're not on the back-to-back. We don't play an opening round game until Saturday or Sunday. That would be next week, not this coming weekend, next weekend. Do we want to make sure that rust isn't there? Because, again, I think it's fair to say the quality of the Pacers basketball over 48 minutes over the last month has not been what you want. Yeah, Jeff, the final 2-3 minutes, sure, it has been. But, if you're seeing Cleveland in round 2, I don't think they're going to have Craig Porter Jr. and Jalen Tyson in a two-man game with the game on the line.
And conversely, the Bucks are pedal to the metal down the stretch here. They've been wiping teams out. Sure, the New Orleans Pelicans are not much of a team right now, but they beat them 136-111 last night, and they took control of that game early and never let up. And Giannis is on a tear, and he's playing minutes, and he scored 28 and had 11 rebounds again last night. They get different guys that are second, third, and fourth scorers almost every night. They're looking like a scary team right now.
They are. They're always going to be at least a little scary with Giannis, who I would argue individually is a lot scary. So we'll certainly see how things continue to shake out. for this rest of the way. I'm just excited for this regular season to get wrapped up, man. I know we spend so much time worrying about seeding and who goes where, and obviously we have to do it, but there's something about just getting locked in and knowing, okay, this is our opponent, this is when we play, and we take it from there.
More on the Colts and Pacers coming up in just a minute. And KB, they're just about set to get to the tee to get going on round 2 of the Masters. In a moment, we'll recap that and tell you what to look for today as we continue next. It's the Fan Morning Show on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
This one will wake you up and get you going, Mark. I like it. I like it. Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Jeff Rickard, Mark Dykton. I feel like there's one more person we should have on this program right now, Mark. Who could that possibly be?
Well, it's Friday at 8, and he thankfully answered the phone, despite our phone number coming up as a Maryland phone number at the moment. I just told him, I said, oh, you didn't get the word that we packed up. We did the opposite of what the Colts did. We're coming back to Baltimore, so we're going back. We're on the Mayflower trucks, and we're going back. But Greg Rexstraw joins us now on the Payless Liquors Hotline.
How about that for an intro? You haven't had that one before in all these years, Greg.
You know, that seems like a very lopsided trade since you and I were both fans of the Reds in our childhood. You know, the Tom Seaver deal is one of the most lopsided, in sports history. But an NFL franchise for a phone line to be named later 41 years ago seems like a big win for the city of Indianapolis.
That's where we're at.
I think the Rakestraw trade is like Luka. We got Luka. I mean,
yes.
We're the Lakers right now, are we not?
We are.
I don't know. I played about an hour and a half of tennis last night. I feel a lot like Anthony Davis right now.
Greg Rexstraw with us here, Payless Liquors Hotline. Not often, Rake, we start an April conversation with you about the Colts, but they did have some news yesterday. What'd you think when you saw Matt Gay released?
Surprised in terms of the timing, maybe not surprised in terms of the end result. You know, obviously when you have a quarterback battle coming up through the offseason and training camp, that's going to blot out the sun. But I thought there could be maybe a kicking battle coming up, whether it's between Gay and Schrader or now Schrader. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility a third-day pick gets used on a kicker for this football team. So timing's a bit interesting, but the end result is not, and it's simply an acknowledgement of modern-day football. You need to be able to make kicks from 50 yards, and there was not a lot of confidence that Matt would do that. Automatic seemingly from 49 and in, but from 50 and out, that's a problem, and that means that your job was going to be under scrutiny. So I think it falls under what seems to be a little more accountability for the Indianapolis Colts these days.
Yeah, certainly, Rick. I mean, this is Chris Ballard 2.0, I guess, because I'm like, who is this person? What are they doing? They're doing a lot of things differently this time around, it seems like. But you mentioned there a possibility of drafting a kicker on day 3, and I'll just go back a little bit further to day 1 and day 2. How would you rank the Colts' draft needs by position? I know KB did it earlier this week for the Fan. I'm just curious to see, what positions come to mind when I bring that up to you.
Sure. Well, number 1 is tight end, obviously. Then number 2 would be tight end. And number 3 would be tight end.
Okay.
I could keep the joke going, but I'll move on and try to actually answer your question. Probably going to need some linebacker help at some point in time. You can never, be the fail-safe to say you always need help in terms of pass rush. But honestly, I think this is a year where you could spend a pick on a kicker. I think this is a year where you could spend a pick, maybe even as high as 3rd round on the quarterback position. But there is, again, to me, tight end and linebacker are the 2 most glaring needs, and everything else can be the old best player available argument.
Rick, I know you're joking a little bit there, but 2012, we saw them double dip at tight end, round 2 and 3. I don't know if round 2 or 3 you were, joking, but could you see 2 tight ends taken amongst their 7 picks?
I think it's one because, again, for all the rightful grief that the Colts tight end room got last year, there was one thing they did very well, and that was run block. And obviously that's an important piece of the puzzle here. You just have to have another weapon. And it seems counterintuitive to say this because do I think the Colts are that close to being a contending team? No. Do I like the moves they've made in the offseason? Yes. But I still think there's a cap as to how good this team can be. I think it's the race to 10 or 11 wins and trying to win the division. Anything else is, as a wonderful bonus, but I don't think it's where this franchise is right now. But you just have to have that guy that is a weapon in terms of catching the ball downfield, which clearly that group did not have last year. So, no, that was more of a joke. I would love to see the Colts tight end draft class, happen the 1st round, and then be capped at that person.
Greg Rakestraw joining us on the Payless Liquors Hotline right now. I'm going to ask you the question that made Kevin Bowen almost throw up in his mouth earlier, and I don't think it would happen, but I'd like to hear your musing on this. Going back to kicker, is there any way the Colts would go for a kicker 6th, 7th round?
Yes, I do. I mean, I absolutely think that's the case. And I mean, to put in perspective, what Pat McAfee was a 7th round pick, as a punter. I could see them doing that at some point in time on day number 3 because, again, they're just for a team that, again, we're worried about their ceiling. On the flip side, there's not a lot of positions where you go, hey, you have to draft a guy. There are certain positions where you always draft a guy, whether it's at running back, cornerback, linebacker, et cetera. But once you get past that tight end position, and again, for the first time in a while, there is question about linebacker depth on this team. Once you get past that, again, I don't think there is this obvious glaring hole where you go, you got to draft a guy, which is why I do think kicker's in play for this team on day number 3.
Rick, I'll pivot a bit. I saw the other night at the Pacers game, they honored the state champions from high school basketball, of course, and that was pretty cool for them to return to the court where they, got their awards and honors and stamped their names in history. But looking at the Pacers specifically, they got fan appreciation night tonight, and it's on to the playoffs. What do you think it will be like to have home court advantage for the first time, I believe, in over a decade for this team?
2014 was the last time it happened when that group was the number 1 seed, but just couldn't find its mojo from the second half of the season on. And since then it's been playoff visits, but it's not been home court advantage for playoff visits. I think clearly you've seen this from the crowds as of late. This town, this community is behind the team. And so I think the atmosphere is going to be bonkers, but that is also at risk of you have one off night, then it's, kind of, oh no, here it comes again, is certainly possible. So I think attitude and atmosphere-wise, I think this city was obviously pleasantly surprised by our run of the Eastern Conference Finals. Given the circumstances this year, I'm not even sure that's the expectation because clearly you've got, kind of Cleveland 1, Boston 2, and though Cleveland don't count anything on last night given who was sitting, but Cleveland has been kind of in neutral seemingly for a few weeks, knowing how far out in front they have been in the Eastern Conference. I think if this team can defend home court and win round 1, anything after that is a bonus for this group.
He's our Luka Doncic. He is Greg Rakestraw. He's with us here on the Payless.
Somebody pass me a beer.
Amen.
We'll start day drinking early today.
Amen to that. Hey, you have my number, Rake. What's your April schedule look like? I assume some Indy 11. I believe the All-Star circuit picks up a little bit as well. What is the Greg Rakestraw April?
It's got a little room to breathe. In fact, I've got a night off tonight and a day off tomorrow.
What?
Now, I know not a full weekend off because I do have All-Star basketball Sunday. I have a banquet at the Colts complex on Sunday night, but it is a mixture of Indy 11, some high school and college baseball and softball. But my 2 busiest months of the year have turned into November and May because May has actually the track, May has Indy 11 soccer, May has Indy 11 women's soccer, May has conference championships in baseball, softball, and tennis, which that's actually kind of slides into April for me. All stuff I do for the Horizon League on ESPN+. It has NAI softball regional most years. So a friend of mine asked me, hey, we want to get something done in May. Give me some available dates. I said, well, there's May 1st, and after that there's May 19th. And then after that, there's May 28th and 29th. So not accepting any more bookings for May, but I do have a little bit of time to kind of kick back and relax a little bit during the month of April.
So you won't be out at the Fishers Event Center for Indy Ignite tonight is what you're saying?
I will not be, unfortunately, nothing against the Ignite, who have had a wonderful debut season. And I hear the Fishers Freight have had a great crowd for opening night. In fact, I hear someone on this show has some sort of relationship out there with them. Is that correct?
They mistakenly asked me to be the MC at the game last Friday, and they powered through it. We all powered through it, and we had a good time, and they won their second game of the year. They're undefeated at 2-0, and it's a beautiful facility. You've been out there. It's a cool place to go enjoy a game.
Absolutely, and again, that starts the Hamilton County trend. You've got that. You've obviously got the Mad Ants building that will not be the Mad Ants for much longer, where the G League team will play as of next year. You've got whatever Westfield's going to do at Grand Park, and it is it is an interesting arms race for those Hamilton County power communities, that's for sure.
That's a lot of fun, and you touch all of them. We appreciate you coming on all the time, and enjoy your evening off.
Thank you. I'm sure it'll be spent getting ready for my daughter's birthday party tomorrow, so a fun and exciting evening of cleaning the house so other people can actually see it.
All right, Craig, thanks.
Thanks, Craig.
See you guys.
But speaking of birthday parties, you got those, though, right? When you were a kid growing up, you did get birthday parties.
Yeah, occasionally. Again, my parents, I kind of look around every now and then. I'm like, man, Ray, who was on the Payless Liquor hotline with us just not too long ago, he's doing all these things for his kid. I'm like, what were y'all doing? I think my parents just were like, you know what, we got kids, so we kind of have to do a couple of things. But jokes aside, yeah, we had birthday parties. We had my favorite birthday party I ever had, seriously. I was 10, and they invited all my friends, my sister's friends as well, because I was a twin. And we did it at the Holiday Inn Express with the pool and everything. And I thought it was the best party ever. So now when I'm at the Breakers as a 29-year-old, I'm like, oh, man, these kids have no idea, how ridiculous their lives are. Because, again, if we got, the 3-foot pool in, the hotel, we thought we made it. Yeah, so that was fun.
My mom taught at an elementary school, and we just play a pickup baseball game out on the diamond there. And, I thought Game 7 of the World Series.
Hey, that's awesome.
That's what it is out there. Now, I have had an audible gulp when you have brought up the would you draft a kicker question.
Gulp.
I don't think it's a ridiculous question. Why do I have an audible gulp? Since Matt Gay was drafted, as James pointed out, he's a 5th-round pick of the Bucs back in 2019. The NFL, he's one of 12 kickers that have been drafted. You don't see it a lot, but, what's that, 6 drafts, and he's one of 12. So we've seen a pair of kickers drafted pretty much in every draft. Matt Gay has the 2nd highest field goal percentage of any of those kickers.
Ooh.
So think about that. He just got cut, and he has the 2nd highest field goal percentage of any of those drafted kickers. Just because you draft a kicker doesn't mean you've got Justin Tucker. Doesn't mean you've got Adam Vinatieri. Doesn't mean you've got Harrison Butker, whoever else you want to throw in kicker lore here. That is what I think is difficult about it. Do I think the Colts need to add to Spencer Schrader? Certainly. But a draft pick is not a slam dunk.
Mm-mm.
Matt Gay, the 2nd best kicker of any that's been drafted in the last 12 years, and he just got the scissors.
Yeah, and he was brilliant with the Rams. 3 years with the Rams, I believe he converted 92% of his field goal attempts. It dropped to 80% with the Colts over the last 2 years.
Which, again, is weird because, as you pointed out, James, you're still kicking indoors.
Yeah.
And I think
it's not like you went to Cleveland. It's not like you went to Green Bay
right,
or Foxborough or
his best performance
Buffalo.
was outside.
And I think over 50 yards with the Rams, he was at 88% right in there.
Yeah, it's tough. And so we will certainly see
when
how it shakes out.
It goes at times.
Yeah, and that's the thing about kickers. They can find it a couple years, lose it. It's weird. But to Jeff's point, I would assume that the Colts, who have 7 picks right now, don't have 7 picks for the entire draft. So if you trade back and you recoup some more picks, I wouldn't hate it as much. I would definitely be more on board with it. If it's, hey, we got 4 7th-round picks and we use 1 on a kicker, I wouldn't be totally opposed to it. But, again, you talk about competition, bring in someone else to at least push Spencer Schrader, even if you do want that to be your guy going forward, who, again, is unproven. I know fans love this, and I'm the same way when I watch my teams growing up. It's like, get this guy off my team. I don't want him anymore. But the other guy isn't always better, and Spencer Schrader is extremely unproven. And, again, going back to college, he was 5 of 12 on field goal attempts that were 50-plus. That is not a great percentage. The math in that I know is below 50%, about 40%. Not good. I think it's 41, but that's not good. So keep that in mind for all the people out there oh, he's going to be so much better than Matt Gay. Matt Gay, to your point, KB, as you pointed out, has had a really good career considering, his position and how long he's played and all that too. So I'm curious to see what the Colts do.
Yeah, let me be clear on Schrader. At Notre Dame, the question was never, and I think we saw this in the preseason, the question was never about his leg. He's got a booming leg, Spencer Schrader. It's just that in an NFL setting, the longest kick he's attempted is 45 yards. So, again, we've brought up the school analogy here. If you're going to grade these guys, Matt Gay was paid to be an A kicker, and he was a D-plus kicker. Spencer Schrader's grade right now is probably a bit incomplete. Maybe he's turned in an assignment that you're encouraged about, but you're still very early in the semester with him. So
You could tell you're teaching a
I was
class
going
at
to say,
IU
he's right
these
in the
days.
middle of semester right here.
Also the son of 2 teachers, which, I'm sure that's probably playing into these awful school analogies that I'm bringing up here. What do you guys think Rory shoots today?
Well, I'm hoping he hits like the course record.
Well, I'm hoping he shoots terribly, but no, but I do think that he'll bounce back. I mean,
That was crippling to watch. He's in the middle of the 15th fairway at 4 under.
Playing great.
He's bouncing around. Rory does this. Tyrese Halliburton, Tyrese Halliburton is in his zone when he's doing the Arthur skip.
The skip, yeah.
When he starts skipping like Arthur, I'm like, dial up PBS and let's binge watch Arthur, baby. When Rory starts bouncing as he's walking to his next shot,
He's feeling good.
I'm thinking to myself, what's the fitting on the green jacket? And he's bouncing at Augusta yesterday through those first 14 holes. And then all of a sudden, he chips the freaking ball in the water.
Yeah, and you could the thing
and
about
then
that.
he compounds it on 17 with another double. Like, if he could have gotten the house at that point at 2 under, not the end of the world. A lot of people view Justin Rose right now as he's not going to keep this lead. They view like Scotty as a leader. Scotty Scheffler 4 under. He's actually the leader of this golf tournament. Had Rory just finished at 2 under,
He'd
you'd
be
feel
right there.
fine. But again, guys, that's Rory. He does stuff that Scotty would never do. What Scotty Scheffler do yesterday? No bogeys.
So
4 under.
I told you I read a piece about him, and I know who Scotty Scheffler is. For those listening, I do know some golfers.
Did you know him before the arrest?
Yeah, I definitely
Okay,
did because
just
he's been one of the best in the world for the last few years. And the way they kind of framed it in this article was that he's like the tool man. Like, he has all the tools in the toolbox to get out of any situation, to take calculated risks, to not take certain risks because he knows, okay, I can, win the long game.
Such a great description.
But man, I was reading this, and I was like, wow, he's like a real big tactician. So I'm watching him a little bit yesterday. I'm like, wow, this dude knows his stuff, and also his caddy as well is known for being one of the best caddies, I believe, like in Masters history.
Yeah.
So
Bubba Watson's old
yeah,
caddy.
like I'm learning some things, KB, about how this thing operates.
James Boyd, man.
He's going to be.
Kevin's smiling like a proud father right now.
Who needs Will Haskett on Monday when we got James Boyd to
We got to
recap
get you to the
things?
tournament now.
I know. Look,
Man.
if you tell me that it's a good story
If
and
you
someone
can
breaks
change
it
a diaper,
down,
James, come on over
I
on
mean,
Saturday or Sunday
I'm
to watch
trying.
the
I don't know about
Masters.
that. I don't know about that. Baby steps, literally. But yeah, I'm learning. In all seriousness, I think it's always cool to at least read the people who can break it down very well and put it in layman's terms, and then kind of go from there. Because obviously, when they get start talking about like different lingo, I have to Google what does this mean again. But yeah, he sounds like he's someone who just never beats himself. If that's correct.
Yeah, and here's the thing that you'll find that's great to watch, especially at the Masters, because I don't know, what are those greens running? They got to be running like 14, 15 right now. Kevin, they are fast, some of those greens.
Guys on the golf course here, Adam Schenk, our Purdue golfer, already out there. Justin Rose, our leader here, will tee off in about a half hour.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. But what you'll find, James, is these greens, it'll look like a guy's hit a nice shot, and then the ball starts rolling. And it starts rolling. It's like that shot that Rory had yesterday that went in the water.
It's all
and then
fascinating
slowly
to me.
it starts to pick up speed. And you hear, even though the ball is like 20 yards from the edge of the green, you hear Nance and the analysts go, oh, no. Oh, boy.
I know.
Look out. Here we go. And it picks up speed. And, Kevin, you've seen that. It's just got to – can you imagine watching that from the fairway where your ball is just not going to stop?
It's all fascinating to me because of the weather, like the angles, the moments, the pressure. Like, I honestly would be like, I don't know how you could be a golfer and not have like a therapist or like a mental coach or somebody to help you. A lot of them probably do, because there is just so much to always think about. And that must be why people enjoy when you have any modicum of success. That sport seems so hard. Who was the guy yesterday who like hit a perfect shot, hits the flagpole?
Yeah, Hideki Matsuyama.
And like I'm like, this is cruel.
Yeah, I mean, not to get super deep in the weeds of the golf, but from a mental standpoint,
jeez,
you can't get taken out of the game and they bring in a new pitcher out of the bullpen.
Yeah, those are timeouts. It's like, we're
couple turnovers
playing.
for Benedict Mathurin, Aaron Nesmith goes back in. Like that doesn't happen in golf, which I think makes it a unique sport, and certainly a sport that I like, but definitely unique in that manner.
Yeah, for sure.
You're going to love it. All right, let's check it down and let you know what's going on right here, right now in the world of sports.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. 2025-26 season tickets are on sale now. Registration for iconic Hinkle Fieldhouse premium seats runs through May 31st. Don't miss Hinkle Magic. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
KB, Pacers win last night. They're 49th of the year. They get a 2-point victory over the Cleveland Cavaliers. Had to rally late, had a 10-0 run in the fourth quarter, capped off by a couple of threes from Tyrese Halliburton, who had 23, 10 assists. Aaron Nesmith, 22 points. Some nice defense at the very end, too. But they got the win, and they have 2 games remaining, but it looks like they're locked into the 4th spot.
And again, home court for the first time since 2013-14. I mean, that is Chris Copeland, Luis Scola. Hell, I think Andrew Bynum was on that team back when the Pacers last played a game 1 at home. They would have during the bubble season, but that was in the bubble. So great accomplishment. When they started 10-15, to get to this point here with 2 games to go, certainly deserves big-time praise. So I know here in the short term and even last night, they played with a whole lot of fire, but kudos to the Pacers for accomplishing that.
Well, this just into the show, Adam Schefter reports that Joe Flacco.
We got sounder for this, James Boyd.
Oh, we do?
Breaking news from 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Big deal. We got to cue it up.
Oh, I'm learning. So, yeah.
Now, is this a tweet from a year and a half ago, or is this actually a new tweet?
It's a reunion from Adam Schefter of ESPN saying the Cleveland Browns and veteran quarterback Joe Flacco have reached an agreement today on a 1-year, $4 million deal worth up to $13 million with incentives.
Back to Cleveland.
Joe Flacco, he did tell us, hey, man, this isn't my last game. Don't give me the whole, send-off treatment. So, 40 years old.
I would agree. I didn't think Flacco, again, golf analogy, I didn't think Flacco was walking up 18. Now, he might have been walking up 16 or 17.
Yeah.
But that was not Matt Ryan in 2022. So, yeah, Flacco or getting another opportunity. We'll see exactly what it looks like with Cleveland.
But shout out to him. I like Joe when he was here.
Is Cleveland the number 2 pick?
Yes, I believe. Yes.
Tennessee 1, Cleveland 2, Giants 3. Yeah. Flacco there and Sam Elgler to Denver.
And Deshaun Watson said yesterday he's going to be back better than ever.
And
that's not saying much.
No, it's not.
And Tiger Woods says that as well.
Yeah, he's coming off, 2 ruptured Achilles now or something like that?
Very quickly, they are underway in round 2 at the Masters. Just a handful of guys on the course right now. Justin Rose sitting in the lead right now at 7 under par after the first 18. Ludwig Aubert is at 4 under par with Scotty Scheffler as well. And also the Canadian Corey Connors had a nice day with 4 under par yesterday. Major League Baseball, Cubs and Reds neither played yesterday. The Indians were rained out in Louisville. And later on tonight, the Pacers at home again against the Orlando Magic, while the Milwaukee Bucks take on the Detroit Pistons. That's what's happening right here, right now, including the breaking news of Joe Flacco going back to Cleveland.
I'm a little surprised by it, you all, mainly because he didn't have many suitors last year. I believe the Colts were the only team that really reached out, according to his agent. And then this year he finds a way back to Cleveland. I'm sure the Browns fans are probably pleased by that because he had some good memories for him and took him to the playoffs. But shout out to Joe, man. He keeps getting those checks. He's playing football. And, again, he
just
never –
turned 40, is that right?
I believe so. Yeah, just turned 40. And he can still throw it a mile. I mean, that dude still has some football in him. I don't know if you necessarily want him starting every game for you, but he certainly can get you out of a jam every now and then.
All right, coming up in a moment, Tyrese Halliburton says there's one aspect of his game that people just don't pay attention to enough. He was on display last night, and he was shouting out about it after the game last night. We'll let him tell you what it is next. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Am I on a college campus here, Mark? I feel like I'm about to.
I feel like it's third down at Notre Dame and Indiana.
I'm not going to lie. I've been playing a lot of college football 25 lately.
Okay.
So I'm like,
this is
you know
the third
what?
down anthem.
This song rules. I'm playing it.
This is Justin Rose's walk-up song as well here in about 20 minutes.
I love the fact that with all those little girls running around and your wife, you have time to go play that.
Well, listen, they're at school. 2 of them are at school. Next year, the 3 of them will be at school. So
Dynasty Leagues, here we come.
Yeah.
Watch out, because I've got my creative coach is named Bemis Couture. He's 7 feet tall, 400 pounds, and he's coming at you. So
all right.
Look out.
We're good to go.
One thing I wanted to add on this Joe Flacco news, and for those that missed it, Joe Flacco announced by Adam Schefter, back to the Browns is where he will play at the age of 40. James, I'm trying to think of the last time the Colts needed a number 2 and number 3 quarterback in the same offseason. And we also say that, and their starter is also up in the air. Like, maybe, I don't know, maybe there was a year with Andrew Luck, like you were moving from Drew Stanton to Matt Hasselbeck, or Hasselbeck to Scott Tolzien. Maybe you needed a new number 2 or 3. And I bring all that up to say, A, it's unusual, not ideal at the most important position in sports. But go back to the thing Chris Ballard said first when describing Anthony Richardson at the end of the year. Before he got into anything Richardson related, and the general question was posed to him, how do you view Anthony Richardson after 2 years in the NFL? The first thing he said was, he's got to be more available. Like, he went immediately to health.
Yep, injuries.
And so when we have talked, and I know we've done this, when we've talked about quarterback in the draft, and 2 weeks from tonight is round 2 and 3 of the draft. When you see a name of Quinn Ewers or Tyler Shuck or, Jackson Dart or, any of the Will Howard, any of these other guys that have been thrown around kind of in that day 2 range, there's part of me that doesn't lose sight of that. Like, if Ballard's biggest worry about Richardson is health, well, right now, that means Daniel Jones will start for you for some portion of this season. Okay, who is Daniel Jones's backup? And right now, that question would be very much up in the air. So it's certainly unusual quarterback times for the Colts.
We always talk about Tyrese Halliburton and his amazing, turnover to assist ratio. It's just always up there. He's leading the team in scoring. He has those beautiful, pure three-point shots when they need him most. But there's one aspect of his game that he doesn't feel gets talked about enough. Our good friend Alex Golden was asking him after the game about this last night, but he had 3 blocked shots last night, KB. 3 blocked shots.
This is where we cue up James, right?
Yeah. Smothered chicken! Give me some smothered chicken!
Smothered chicken! Please, give me some smothered chicken on that one.
It is just excellent how reminiscent that is of Quinn. Quinn was off last night. James Boyd was not.
Oh, I was in my. I was in my room, my apartment, just screaming out, smothered chicken a few times.
Gotta have fun. Banging on the wall. Can you stop yelling that?
Yeah, they're
please?
like, this guy's ridiculous.
Have people over.
No, he wants to come see if it's really, James has got something on the grill over here or something like that. But anyway, Tyrese Halliburton was asked about his blocked shots by Alex Golden after the game, and he said, pay attention to this.
So it goes Miles Turner, Rick Smits, Jermaine O'Neal, Roy Hibbert, Tyrese Halliburton. That's how it's going to end when I'm done here. I'm sorry that if there's anybody from before that time that I'm not, maybe George McGinnis or somebody like that. But in my mindset, I'm the 5th best shot blocker in franchise history. You can't tell.
Your 3rd game this season with 3 blocks.
There you go.
You know what?
Shout out to Dale Davis. I'd probably throw him.
Yeah, exactly.
But
what I will always say, we've talked about this before, there will be a time when you'll have to explain to a Pacers fan that Tyrese Halliburton wasn't drafted here. Yeah. Because that's what it feels like. He's embraced the city so much. He identifies with this team so much. He's obviously pushed him to a ton of success recently. But it is just so crazy to me. I'm like, at one point in time, he was not a Pacer.
Well, you see his reaction even with Reggie last night postgame. For those that missed it, Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller were on the call last night of the Pacers Cavs. Yeah, he just he gets it, and he has embraced this. And I don't know if he's ever said it publicly, James. You would probably be one better to ask. I think he was slighted by what happened with Sacramento. They opted to go in a different direction after drafting him in the lottery. I understand what Sacramento was doing. There was a logjam there, but still, a player's going to treat that as a motivational element. And, he gets back to the Midwest, and he seems like this lifestyle and this pace kind of fits him a little bit, more compared to maybe some other NBA cities. So I know we have PTSD when it comes to stars here, but I don't see the Halliburton thing ending like it did for others.
No, mainly because of how it ended for him in Sacramento. And yeah, you're right, KB. His first day here, when we talked to him fresh off the plane, it was him and Tristan Thompson. Ironically thinking about him last night, former Pacer.
Do we have the audio, Mark?
And I thought that, what is this audio for?
Rick Carlisle summarizing the Tristan Thompson career as an Indiana Pacer. I thought about that like every time Thompson was chirping last night. By the way, that was a very smart foul by Miles Turner late. I don't know if that was frustration, but fouling Thompson to send him to the line was a smart move.
But Ty talked about heartbreak that first day. Very candid. And I was like, wow, this guy is like really opening up to a bunch of reporters he does not know. He just kind of vented, and he's been that way ever since. And from what I understand, he's been that way probably his entire life when it comes to just vulnerability, as well as being a fierce competitor. So I think that he fits Indiana well, and they fit him well.
Well, it was fun while it lasted.
So keep in mind, do you remember
that was Rick on Tristan Thompson's
Do you remember when
career?
he left and what Rick did to kind of announce it?
It was that during that press conference, wasn't it?
Yes, like normally there is a leak.
Like Tristan had played some minutes in that game.
Exactly.
If I'm not mistaken.
I believe he had like a double-double. They went and knocked off they might have beat some team. I forget what team it even was. It might have been the Cavs. And after the game, Rick just breaks the news himself. He's like, yeah, he's going up to this, that'll be his last game here. He's going to go join a team like, that starts with a C.
Bulls. I think it was the Bulls.
And
who
we were
needs
like,
Woj? Who needs Shams when you got Rick Carlisle?
We were all guessing like, you said, yeah, it's going to be a team that, with a C in the Midwest. And we're like, Cleveland? He's like, thinking another C, and we're all like sitting there. He's like, Chicago. I'm like, dang, man, I don't know geography at all. So it was funny that he did that, and I think Tristan might have been here for a hot second.
He's here for ham sandwich. That was about it.
Yeah, Pacers legend Tristan Thompson.
Well, it was fun while it lasted.
I don't know if you guys saw this also last night. Buddy Hield was involved in a little. Did you see this snippet with the Golden State Warriors? He's playing for the Warriors now. And
I did see this.
He was not passing the ball to Steph Curry, who was wide open. And the live mics on the sideline caught Steve Kerr in the timeout saying, Buddy, I want you to meet this guy. This is Steph Curry. Buddy Hield, Steph Curry. He's the greatest shooter in the history of the world. He's open.
Yeah. they were mic'd up. And he was saying it like tongue in cheek. They were joking. But that was a funny moment, and it kind of reminds you. I mean, you look at the list of who's the top, 10 or top 5 3-point shooters ever now, and Reggie just continues to get knocked down further and further when it seemed like at one point he was the best we'd ever seen. And for his era, he was. I think in this era, he would certainly have more threes because he just shoot them more these days. But it is crazy to see the list now, and it's like Buddy Hield will probably end his career with more three-pointers made than Reggie Miller. So getting back to the Pacers, though, yeah, I'll take that win last night. It maybe wasn't as pretty as you want it to be because you're going against the, Cavs' C team or B team, but a win is a win, and you're still alive for that 3 seed. And now the question becomes, do you want to stick with, the resting plan, which would help your draft seeding or your draft positioning, according to Tony East, who's a lot smarter than me when it comes to these things, or do you try to keep a rhythm and play the guys who are healthy?
Again, Pacers would have to win their last 2. Knicks would have to lose their last 2 for the Pacers to be the 3. And for what it's worth, the Pistons do play the Bucks here to end the season. The Pistons would need to sweep the Bucks to be the 5. So, again, in all likelihood, it's going to be a 4-5 Pacers-Bucks. But basically, the 2 pathways that James was alluding to there is if the Pacers are the 4 seed, your path would be Milwaukee, Cleveland to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals. If you're the 3 seed, your path would be Detroit, Boston to get back to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Take your pick.
I would rather be the 4. I think Milwaukee might be a little bit of a tougher out because of Giannis than Detroit. I know I'm, again, probably in the minority on that, but I'd rather play Cleveland than Boston.
All right, coming up in just a moment, we'll take a look ahead at the round 2 of the Masters. They are just underway. down at Augusta. We'll call also for the 8 o'clockers. We'll update you on the standings of our Masters Challenge here on the Fan Morning Show. Mark has been working like a computer feverishly on all these computations throughout the
Lots
morning.
of pop-ups.
Yeah. We'll check in on it next as we continue. The Fan Morning Show, 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan from the DriveHubler.com studios.
Steph Curry, Steph, and Buddy Hield. I want you guys to meet each other. Say hello to Steph. He's the greatest shooter in the history of the world. He's wide open.
listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Kevin Bowen, James Boyd, Mark Dykton. I'm Jeff Rickard. And Kevin, you and I were just talking about who makes a move today on Friday at the Masters. Obviously, you're hoping that Rory does, and there's you figure Scheffler's just going to be steady Eddie again and probably post to 68, 69, something like that. But anybody else that you see really making a move today?
Thomas Dietrich, please.
Boy, I feel like it was kind of a quiet 4-under from Ludwig Aubert yesterday, and he tees off here in a little over an hour. And if you believe in that, hey, the conditions are a little bit easier in the morning, softer greens, maybe not as windy as it gets in the afternoon, he'd be a smart bet. Of course, Justin Rose. I mean, we're 5 minutes away from Justin Rose teeing off, so he falls into that same boat. But Aubert last year in the Masters got off to a slow start and then finished second. This year he gets off to a 68. So, those would probably be some smart bets. I'm just curious, James Boyd is playing the middle game here with golf. How does Rory react to that? I mean, that had to be crippling. I mean, he's got a 6-footer on 14 to go to 5 under. He's in the middle of the fairway on 15, the par 5, and then he looks like, you or me out there for the final 4 holes.
Yeah, the piece I read was him saying, you basically picture what's the worst case scenario, and then you realize, okay, if that happens, what do I do next? And I'm like, well, this is the what do you do next part, because the worst case scenario, at least on day one, it's not obviously the end all be all. He's got time, but you got to start making some moves today, and obviously, not have just those erratic moments, like those moments where you're just like you're cruising, you're playing pretty well, and you go sideways. But that's what I mean. I'm not a golf expert, as you all know, but man, that's what makes this sport so freaking hard, because you can be rolling along, and then 2 or 3 swings sets you back. So we'll see if he can bounce back.
Shout out to the great Fred Couples yesterday. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was
Eagle
cool.
on the 14th hole for the 65-year-old, the hybrid from 190-some yards. I love it. He's one of the few people in the world where women swoon over his looks and men also swoon over his tempo on the golf course.
So I'm going to take you guys way back when Fred was in his prime, and this is early 90s.
Boom, boom, Freddie Couples.
Yeah, boom, boom, Freddie Couples. I even had a 3-wood, a boom, boom 3-wood back then, Kevin. But he was my favorite golfer, and I was covering a golf tournament at Castle Pines. That was where they had the old Stableford scoring system,
high up
right?
in altitude.
And on a Friday, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go today. I'm just going to follow Fred Couples every shot, the entire round. And this guy is grooving 3-woods from 285, and he's moving the ball. And it was one of the most – it was a day where I learned a lot about how great professional golfers are just watching him play. And it's one of the coolest days I've ever spent covering sports in my life, just following Fred Couples that day and the command that he had at that point in time over the golf ball and what he could do with it. And it was just You've seen guys do that too, Kevin. It's fascinating.
And I tried to say this to James earlier in the week, like part of why I love the Masters and the uniqueness of this tournament is you just had a 65-year-old dude yesterday beat numbers 2, 3, and 4 in the world. 65 years old. Dude's barely playing golf. He's got more hybrids than, some 78-year-old teeing off on the first hole at South Grove right now. And he's got a colored golf ball. And he's out there beating 2, 3, and 4 in the world. And, this won't happen at the U.S. Open. This won't happen at the British Open. This won't happen at the PGA Championship. It's very unique to this golf course. The history behind this place, Couples certainly has played it probably, I would guess, more than anybody else in the field. It's just it allows for stories that you just don't see elsewhere.
You'll appreciate this, James. You saw the I think it was the same hole, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, that Rory put into the drink yesterday where the ball rolled down.
Shipped it into the water.
Yeah.
There's a par 3 that has a similar setup too. And Freddie Couples hit a ball that rolled back off the slope and down and literally stopped 8 inches from going into the water, where no ball ever stops. He ends up getting up and down and ends up winning the Masters that year.
I mean, I kind of look at this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you do need a little bit of luck, right? I mean, because the sport is so hard.
Have to.
Well, it's like March Madness, where you need a couple breaks to go your
it's the same
way.
thing of the Indy 500. If you get a yellow that falls in the right spot for you, boom, all of a sudden that can help you out. But I also am a believer that you can create your own luck, and if you put yourself into those situations enough, you will. So we'll keep you posted. Justin Rose about ready to tee off here. Reminder, Chuck Pagano in 10 minutes. The Chuck Strong Gala tonight. Certainly, it's been an unbelievable event. $15 million for cancer research to the IU Simon Cancer Center. Again, continue to just major credit to the Irsay family and what they've done for their former head coach, and most importantly, what they continue to do from a philanthropic standpoint within our city and state. So a cool event. Jim Kelly will be the fellow, cancer story, if you will. Bruce Arians has been in the past. Ron Rivera. I want to say last year they had Andrew Luck. I think that was last year. Some of the years start to run together at that. But Chuck Pagano, who is now a assistant back with the Ravens, still coaching.
Love it. Love that man. I always have, always will. Real quickly, Mark, before we get to the top of the hour, heading into the second round of the Masters today, what are the standings for our little group competition here?
We're really just trying to stroke your ego right now.
You
are currently leading at 5 under at
top
like
of the leaderboard. Bragging about your fantasy football team. I'm sure all of our listeners are just dying to hear these updates.
It's not going to hold up. I got to enjoy it while I have it. That's
go.
That's
what she said. You are at 5 under on the leaderboard, currently leading. James, who is on the cusp of possibly getting DQ'd because of Thomas Dietrich's +7, is currently even par, and then Kevin and I bringing up the rear, 2 over par each for us.
Yeah, Thomas Dietrich is in 91st right now. I want to say it's top 50 in ties.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think he's going to make, he's losing ground, in this. So that's all right, Thomas. I still love you, brother.
You got your Illinois sweatshirt on today, though.
Yeah, it was clean, man. I am I&I, baby.
There you go.
I might lose this, but I got a couple Big Ten championships back in the day that I can brag about. Look, when I was in school, the winning options were few and far between, so I was always a very big supporter of the men's golf program.
For those that, and probably 3 people in their cars right now care about this, the Illinois men's golf program is outstanding.
They're legit.
It is legit. National
Dynasty
level,
type of
yes,
thing. Yeah.
It is a legit golf program.
What's the golf course like there?
Mike Small's a hell of a coach. I don't think it's anything too crazy. Correct me if I'm wrong, James. I don't know if you know, but like compared to what we have at Purdue or
it's
Indiana's new course or Notre Dame, I don't think.
No, it's not nothing too crazy, but they put a lot of pros
Steve
through that
Stricker
program.
has pumped in a lot of money, I think, to their facilities.
Yeah. So, I guess, again, you got to, like Jeff said, take the wins where you can.
Yeah, that's what you do. We'll take our wins coming up in a minute. Chuck Pagano is going to stop by, catch up with him. Stick with us for that as we come to you live from the DriveHubler.com studios here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
We made it all the way to Friday, guys. And we got the Masters to watch all weekend long. We got a surprise story coming out of the Colts right here in the middle of the morning. Breaking news, James Boyd.
Yeah, well, not Colts related necessarily. I guess Colts tangent, if you will, Jeff. You want to throw it out there like that? Because the other quarterback, Joe Flacco, who was the backup to Anthony Richardson last year, is headed back to Cleveland. So that is significant news for him and the Browns and maybe what they do at number 2. But for the Colts purposes, their biggest news was yesterday releasing Matt Gay, which made me have to work during vacation, which I didn't mind. That's the nature of the business. My editor was like, hey, Jim Aiello, who I'm sure you guys are familiar with.
Yeah.
I told him, I actually volunteered. I was like, hey, I'll knock this story out. I know it's probably worth a story. He's like, hey, I hate to do this to you. It's like, no, we know the nature of our business. You're never really off. And so, I saw my story. I read Kevin's story, and everyone had it because it is a significant development, I would say, Kevin, and something that we kind of had an eye on, but it certainly took a significant step forward yesterday in just our reaction to everything.
Yeah, I definitely want to get back into that story. We're going to talk with Chuck Pagano here in a couple minutes, but certainly with some news items. And I don't know, maybe 2 weeks from today, maybe not today, but end of the draft, we could get some clarity on that. I believe we have Chuck Pagano right now. Let's head to the Payless Liquors hotline. We always enjoy our conversations, and certainly the event tonight, it speaks for itself. $15 million raised for IU Simon Cancer Center and research. The great Chuck Pagano joins us. Coach, good morning. How are you?
Hey, KB. Thanks for having me on. It's game day, baby.
It is game day. I'm ready to see you run out of the tunnel like Ray Lewis.
Would that be something? There's only one of those. Yeah.
Well, I got to start here before we get into the Gala, and it's an incredible event what the Irsay family have done. Speaks for itself. Did Tina kick you out of the house? I can't believe that you're back coaching already.
Yeah, I guess, what was it, 4 years? 4 years on the sofa with her at home. She'd had enough. Kids had had enough. All right, you're driving us all nuts. You better get back to work. So, yeah.
Well, one thing we do know.
KB, you just miss it, right? I mean, you can't replicate it. It's hard to find that fulfillment. Pat did me a great favor being on with him and the boys there at the McAfee show. A little bit here, a little bit there, but nothing quite like it. So grateful to be back.
How, if you don't mind, how many calls did you field over the last 4 years? I have a feeling if, John Harbaugh and your history, obviously, with him and that staff probably meant something to you, and maybe that call got a little bit more of a response from you than some others.
Yeah, it just had to be, the perfect storm, if you will, and always stayed in touch with Coach Harbaugh and, reached out to him and for actually recommending somebody else for another position he had open. So the dialogue kind of started and just because of familiarity, having been there, spent 4 great years there. I mean, that place totally changed the trajectory of my coaching career, certainly. So all those things and ultimately the chance to win it all, right? So, I'm very fortunate, the timing of the whole thing.
How you feeling these days? Obviously, you feel good enough to go back to work, but things are going well, right?
Yeah, I feel great. 65 is the new 45. Age is just a number. I mean, look at Freddie Couples, right?
Yeah.
I'll be 65. I'll be 65 in October. Freddie's 65 now and shaping a 6-foot, 195 yards for Eagle. Are you kidding me?
I know you got that in your game.
No, please. The great Satchel Paige was quoted, says, hey, how old would you be if you didn't know how old you were? So, yeah.
Oh, what a quote.
I love that
quote. Coach James Boyd here. I know you're obviously excited to get back into coaching, but to focus more on tonight's event, how well do you know Jim Kelly, and how much do you appreciate him stopping by to share his story?
I mean, just incredible that he would take the time, out of his schedule to come and be our special guest of honor, share his incredible cancer journey. I think 4-time cancer survivor, Just have known Jim from afar, have, contacted and supported, each other through both of our, cancer journeys, if you will. So, I mean, it's going to be absolutely incredible evening over there at West 56 to have Jim, come and, like I said, share his journey and what he's been through. It's going to be so inspiring. And we have a, there's going to be a ton of Colts fans in there, but there's some closet, some people behind the scenes that I'm not going to mention any names that are huge Buffalo fans, huge Jim Kelly fans. So I know those people are fired up.
Oh, I'm going to find them and snitch on them. But but I'm curious to know,
I'll tell you one, the president, or not the president, but the guy that runs the IU Simon Comprehensive Cancer Center right now, Dr. Kelvin Lee, he took over for the great Pat Lair, who stepped, took a different role a couple years back. But yeah, Kelvin's first and foremost, and he'll wear it. He'll probably have a Buff jersey on, I guarantee it.
I was going to ask you, when you're, having the gala, it sounds so fancy, and you're the coach who's usually in, shorts or hoodie or whatever. How dressed up do you have to be for this event tonight?
Shoot, I wore a hoodie last year.
Hey, see, this is why I asked. Oh, I feel at home with you.
No, hell yeah. I mean, this is your finest pair of Jordans, a slick pair of jeans, maybe a pair of Ferragamos if you got a pair of Ferragamos. Jersey, hoodie. This is tailgate gala. This is so laid back and so fun. That was probably the most ingenious thing that when they started this thing 13 years ago, one of the greatest ideas ever to make it like this. So, I mean, we all like getting dapped up and cleaned up and put a, bow tie on and black tie affair, but this is pretty cash, pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's Gala, just a name only.
CKB belts are optional.
Yeah, very, very much so. It has a nice laid-back atmosphere. You know that voice. That's Chuck Pagano with us here. Payless Liquors Hotline back in the city of Indianapolis tonight. Again, $15 million has been raised over the years for the IU Simon Cancer Center and research. Coach, I think I've asked you some form of this, annually when we've had you on the day or right around this great event. But I'm reminded when the NFL schedule comes out each year. And for example, I think the Colts have had a December bye week like each of the last 2 years. And when the schedule comes out and I see that, I immediately think back to 2012 and think back to your first year as head coach. And when you get this word from the Colts training staff, kind of pushed you into saying, oh boy, let's get this checked out. You guys had one of the earliest, if not the earliest bye week in the entire NFL. And I don't know, there's just part of me that's like, gosh, can you imagine as a first year head coach, and I get the conflict you probably were in, thinking to yourself, I'm fine, there's nothing wrong with me if you guys would have had a later bye week. I always think about that, Coach, when the schedule comes out.
Yeah, who knows, right? I mean, mid-May, I guess, is when they come out, and you're always one of the first things you look at, Kevin, is just that, right? When's the bye? You'd love it to be right in the middle of your season, for obvious reasons. But, yeah, who knows what happens, because we're all hard-headed. We all think we're invincible. We all think, like, nothing like this is going to happen to us, But if it's not week 4, who knows? But thank God, that it was in this instance, and thank God for the medical staff there, Dr. Robertson, pushing me to go down and get a blood test and go see these people at IU, and fortunate to have Larry Kripe sitting there as my oncologist and give me that unfortunate news, those news that you don't want to hear, but yeah, I mean, yeah, because I'm not, like, if it's week 8, KB, I'm not going in. I'm not going to, I'm probably not going to go get checked, and you just fight through it. It's just a little bit of fatigue and you're tired. That's just football, right? Stuff like that. So very, very fortunate of the timing of the whole thing.
It's funny as the years go by and how everything shakes out, you never know what's going to happen, 8-10 years from now. When you look at the landscape of football and you see in college football, Andrew Luck, who's running a program now, as a general manager, de facto, almost athletic director, really, at Stanford right now. Could you even imagine 8 years ago, Andrew being back at Stanford and hiring coaches at this point in time?
No, I couldn't even imagine him not being under center for us, and when he wasn't, it kind of spelled trouble for everybody. But it's just wild, to think of, not only that, but just the whole landscape of college football and what it's turning into. Because, and he'll do an amazing job. And I know he was tasked with an unbelievable decision that he had to make already in his short tenure out there, and with the coaching staff and all that. But he'll do an amazing job. He's got a brain bigger than Indianapolis. We all know that. But that whole college landscape right now and the way that they're going, everybody's building a professional football model, in those college buildings now. They've got they're hiring these GMs. He's got a staff underneath him. They've got an entire, pro personnel or personnel staff, underneath the GM, Michael Lombardi. You look at what he's doing at UNC with Coach Belichick. They got a salary cap guy. It's set up exactly like the NFL now, and rightfully so because of NIL, because of the portal and everything that's going on. So best of luck to Andrew and Nicole and his family. They'll do great things. And who'd have thought Frank Reich would be out there with him? You talk about full circle moments.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that was a pretty, unique to see. I was like, there's an alternate universe out there where you all are still figuring that thing out. But last one from me, Chuck, is just when you look at everything you've been through in your life and how much you love the game of football, what keeps you coming back year after year? And I love to ask coaches this because I would imagine the love kind of changes from when you might have played to when you're early in your career to this stage of your career. What keeps you attached to this game that has kind of changed your life?
It's the relationships. I always told the guys everywhere I've been, the game is going to fade, for all of us, whether you're coaching, whether you're playing at some point, it's going to go away, and you're not going to have it. But the relationships, those are for life. And, so that's a thing that has always brought me back to this game. It's the kids, it's the people, it's the camaraderie, it's the competition, it's the grind. Believe it or not, you try to fill these 24-hour days, retired sitting on the couch. I can only play so much golf and do so much with the grandkids, this, that, and the other. And I loved all that. But you miss the grind, you miss the routine, but you miss the people, you miss the relationships, and going through, something together that could be really, really hard, it's very gratifying, the ups, the downs, the ebbs, the flows, but doing it with people that you love and that you respect, and mostly for those 5 minutes. And those 5 minutes are those moments, those great victories, the Kansas City playoff, victory, and you're in that locker room, the divisional win at Denver. Those moments in that locker room, holy cow, man! You can't. The hair on the back of my neck standing up right now just thinking about those moments. That's why you do it.
He's back in the business. He's back in Indianapolis tonight. It's one of the great events every year. Again, $15 million raised for the IU Simon Cancer Center Cancer Research. Chuck Pagano and his gala coming up over at West 56th Street tonight. Coach, congrats. Welcome back, certainly, to coaching. But most importantly, congrats on everything from a health standpoint and what you and the Irsay family have continued to do for this city when it comes to that horrific disease. So thank you for that.
I appreciate you guys. I thank you, for having me on. And great. This would not happen without Jim Irsay. You mentioned Jim Irsay and his family. There's no way. There's so many people. I can't mention them all. But if there are people, KB, if you don't mind real quick, that want to, support and want to give, and, research saves lives. We know that. They can text to IU Cancer, all caps, and then text to 79230. If that's okay. So IU Cancer, all caps, and then 79230.
We will tweet that out from our show account. All caps right there, IU Cancer, and 79230, where the text message needs to go. Coach, all the best, sir.
Appreciate you guys. Take care.
The one and only Chuck Pagano right there on the Payless Liquors hotline.
Again, just one of the most outstanding human beings you're ever going to meet, Kevin. You know that. You've been around him long enough. He's just good people from a great family. His dad, maybe the best high school football coach in the history of the state of Colorado.
Sammy Pagano.
Yeah.
Shout out there.
And his brother John, a little known fact, he and I played on the same Division II football team in Colorado.
Look at
back
that.
in the day. It was actually NAIA Division I back at that time.
I'm not mistaken. Chuck brought the game up, the win at Denver in the divisional round in 2014 that season. I think Sam, I believe, was on the sidelines for that game. Obviously, that game meant a whole lot because he went to the AFC title, but also for Chuck. I mean, you're coaching, stone's throw from where you grew up. So, again, I've said all week long, it's just it's in a business that is super high strung, in a business where relationships can be best friends one day and bitter enemies the next, for a fired head coach to still come back to his city. And I mean, they did this event the first year after he was fired. For him to still come back here and have the love that he does for this city and this state, and for the Irsay family to have done it as long as they have, is really cool, and I think a bit rare. So I love that.
It certainly gives you perspective as well, considering the money that they've raised, the families that they've obviously touched, and the lives they'll continue to touch. So all of us probably know somebody who's had cancer or dealt with cancer. So to see him as happy and lively as he is always a joy. And he's certainly he's not faking it. Like, he really is that fun and that cool to a certain degree. So I just love that, I might see him in the hoodie tonight. So I will change out of the Illinois hoodie at some point. I won't wear sweatpants to this thing, but to know that I could is a great feeling.
Well, and I said run out of the tunnel. For those that have never been to this event, they have part of it in the indoor facility. Again, it's like a tailgate atmosphere.
It really
type
is.
Feel. It's a very fun atmosphere, and they announce some of the people. And Chuck is obviously the star of the show. And I want to say one year he did the Ray Lewis. He was running out of the tunnel and tried to do that. So Jim Kelly's story speaks for itself. I think that'll be awesome for folks that are going up there tonight. And great to have Chuck Pagano certainly back in the NFL world as well.
All right. Great to catch up with him. In the meantime, you got the Masters starting the second round a little while ago now. A lot of golfers are on the course later on today. Justin Rose is just parred number one, Kevin. So he is the leader on the course now again.
One of the more difficult holes out there at Augusta National. So I think anytime you get a 4 on the opening hole, that is a good start here. But yes, we are starting to get some of the leaders. Rose off. You'll have Ludwig Aubert and Rory McIlroy coming up at the top of the hour. We'll see how those two respond here in round 2. But looks like a very nice morning at the Augusta National.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anybody just tear it up out of the gate right now for the golfers that are out there. I see Schwartzel. Remember him? Charles Schwartzel? Sure. He's one under nope. I mean, that just changed too. Never mind. He's now plus. Well, he was doing well, and then it just changed.
So we play the audio mark of the Tristan Thompson career maybe there to sum up Charles Schwartzel on the leaderboard.
There it was.
It was fun while it lasted.
Boy, I'll tell you what, Tristan Thompson was pretty chirpy last night, boys. He was chirpy there. And also the Kenny Atkinson getting ejected. That was one of the more come out of nowhere ejections I've seen in a while.
Do you think he was doing that for the guys that don't play a whole lot? He was kind of showing them, I got your back too.
I thought he was doing that for his associate head coach to get a chance.
Maybe, but I thought he was justified because the play before that, when Tristan Thompson did score, Obi shoved him like he was offensive blocking him. I was like, that's definitely a foul. They just missed it. But to lose your mind kind of like that, I was like, that's a little overboard. And maybe you need your other guys to get some reps in there because it looked prepared. They didn't miss a beat. And I do want to say it evened out because of like the Aaron Nesmith loose ball foul at the end, weird play where it is a foul, but who calls that? You know what I mean?
That one is a little.
Yeah.
It did feel, though, on Kenny Atkinson after he got the first, like, all right, I'm just going to get tossed at this point in time. Didn't it feel like that?
And then I actually think he'll probably get fined because he didn't, leave.
No, he did not leave.
And
so
he was using colorful language, too.
I don't think he was really trying to, pretend or, Greg Popovich did this all the time where he's like, he'll walk away kind of with a wry smile. Kenny was legitimately mad about that, but.
Someone's telling me former Southsider Nick Burke in the stands there might have influenced a little bit of Kenny Atkinson to the showers early there. And I half jokingly said the associate head coach taking over there late. But, again, the Cavs benched Ty Jerome for the final, quarter and a half? Jared Allen didn't play in the second half. I mean, it had a bit of a Wizards feel to it. So I don't know. We'll probably dissect the playoffs a little bit more next week in terms of the matchup. There is a little part of me that's like, should we be paying a little bit more attention to how the Pacers are playing within these 48 minutes, or should we sit there and say, it's a 6-game win streak?
Right.
Shut the hell up.
I'll take it.
I mean, like,
I'll take
so
it.
that's where I'm a little torn on it.
Well, that win streak might get you to 50 before it's all said and done.
Should I sweat?
You got 2 games to win 1.
I think you're sweating a little bit.
I think you're sweating if it doesn't happen tonight.
Am I Ray J. Dennis for 22 points? Like, is that what I need? Do I need James
Johnny
Johnson
Furphy.
getting minutes?
You need Johnson, Ray J. Davis, and Furphy to combine for about 36 points.
Quentin Jackson takeover game?
I was going to say, if you just can put James Johnson out there, maybe he can like scare the other guys from playing as hard as they would.
Kevin, you need to wear like a red shirt on Sunday, like a la Tiger Woods. if you're Pacers bet, it comes down to the Sunday at the Masters and Kevin needing a Pacers win.
Drive up to Cleveland for the game behind the bench in my Sunday red there.
Oh man! Speaking of golfers' clothes, did you see Sergio dressed up like the Spanish flag yesterday?
He's a fireball, right, on the Live Tour? Isn't that his team?
Yeah.
So I think that's his fireball outfit there.
All right, let's check it down and let you know what to look for tonight and this weekend.
The Morning Checkdown, brought to you by Butler Bulldogs Basketball. 2025-26 season tickets are on sale now. Registration for iconic Hinkle Fieldhouse premium seats runs through May 31st. Don't miss Hinkle Magic. Visit butlersports.com/buy tickets.
Something's got to give tonight, guys. The Indiana Pacers host the Orlando Magic. The Pacers have won 6 in a row. JB, the Magic have won 4 in a row. But who's going to play in this game tonight?
That's a great question. We should probably check the
Their
injury
starters
report.
are all questionable. So the Wagners, the Boncaros, I'm trying to think who else starts for them. But those guys are all questionable. Again, they're locked into the 7th seed. So when the Pacers are on a back-to-back, they have yet to send out an injury report. But
not yet submitted.
Fan appreciation night, beware in what you're going to see out on the floor tonight.
They may call a fan out to play.
I don't know what the Pacers are going to do, honestly.
Hey, Section 2, Row 3.
Man.
Yeah. Bob from Greenwood, come on down.
Hold up your Kroger card if you want to play some minutes tonight.
This is why I love Mark.
Can
Most Indiana thing ever.
Everybody in the audience that wore their basketball shoes,
the winner of
please
the
raise
St.
your hand.
Elmo's shrimp eating contest last night, yeah, you're going to get some clock for us.
Last night,
After you puke out back.
Pacers came from behind and beat the Cavaliers 114-112, and the Cavaliers resting most of their starters last night.
Yeah, as KB alluded to, the Pacers should be thankful that Ty Jerome did not play anymore in that game because he did whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted to, played very well. But also, Tyrese Halliburton made some shots late to get him over the hump, and a win is a win is a win is a win.
You'll take it. The Milwaukee Bucks beat the New Orleans Pelicans 136-111 last night. They've won 6 in a row, and all they need to do is win one of their remaining 2, both against the Pistons, to secure the 5th spot, and that would be the Pacers' first-round opponent with Indiana holding home court advantage.
Yeah, I mean, that would certainly be an eye-popping matchup. You have the best player or one of the best players in the world in Giannis going up against the Olympic gold medalist and Tyrese Halliburton and crew. So I certainly would be there for every home game and be watching every other game as well.
Cubs off yesterday. The Reds were off yesterday. The Indianapolis Indians were rained out in Louisville. And once again, KB, the White Sox lose. This time at Cleveland, 6-1.
A couple college basketball notes. Darren DeVries certainly is trying to build a roster, and that remains to be seen. But he is, I think, trying to beef up that non-conference schedule. Reports indicate Indiana-Louisville right here in our own backyard. Gainbridge Fieldhouse coming up next December. We have seen Indiana play some games at Gainbridge after the Crossroads Classic because Indiana and Notre Dame didn't want to play anymore. Kind of fell apart there in terms of the 4-team Classic we were used to. So IU and Louisville. That will be coming up early December. If I'm not mistaken, Indiana's at Kentucky next season, and they're playing Marquette up at the United Center. So, again, a very different non-conference schedule for them. And did you guys see that news yesterday? Kind of randomly, but to tie it back to us, remember we had on Alan Huss, the head coach at High Point, Purdue's opponent in round 1, announced yesterday he will be the coach in waiting at Creighton for Greg McDermott. There was part of me that thought, I guess if Darren DeVries wouldn't have gone to West Virginia, could he have been that? Because remember, like Huss and DeVries were 2 of the longer-term assistants for Greg McDermott there. So Alan Huss leaving High Point, and it sounds like 1 to 2 years from now he will take over.
And JB, there was some Colts news yesterday.
Yes, they released Matt Gay, a bit of a stunner. And when I said that, everyone was like, no, it's not stunning. He wasn't in good. And I'm like, okay, relax. The point of it, as me and KB kind of talked over in the first hour, the timing of it, that was what was stunning to me. It wasn't the move itself, because when Spencer Strader got signed and did some digging and I found out it was a 2-year deal, I was like, huh. But to release him before they even have a competition, before camp even gets here, and also you would have saved a little bit of money in cap space by doing it post-June 1st. That was a bit surprising to me, but the Colts have obviously wanted to move on. And to be clear, Matt Gay did not live up to his salary, which at the time was the highest free agent kicker deal in league history. It was like 4 years, $22.5 million. The last 2 years of this deal weren't guaranteed, and so they said goodbye. And Spencer Strader looks like the, presumed starter. But as you talked about, Jeff, could the Colts draft one and KB, grits his teeth?
Yeah, on the other side, we'll share
some
information.
And Rakestraw said, don't be surprised.
Yeah, we'll share some info on the other side. Drafting a kicker does not mean all of your issues are cured all of a sudden here. So
I did go to Dane Brugler's Beast after it happened, though, and was like, let me look at this kicker section for a second.
Which he not only has kickers, he's got long snappers in that thing.
Yeah.
He's thorough.
We got to get Dane on next week.
We'll do that in a moment. We will. I can't wait to go down this rabbit hole you're going to take us down, Kevin. Kicker rabbit hole. What's better than that on a Friday?
Kicker draft rabbit hole. If that doesn't send you to the fridge early, I don't know what will.
That's next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
You're listening to the Fan Morning Show on Sports Radio 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Live from high atop the Circle in downtown Indianapolis from the DriveHubler.com studios. Easter weekend, James Boyd, young single guy. How will you spend it?
It's not Easter weekend just yet. I believe Easter weekend is next weekend. Yeah, what is
all
it?
the Easter egg hunts are this weekend.
We got
like
Palm Sunday coming up. I paid attention a little bit in school, in Sunday school. But, for me, it's the same thing I always do. Hang out with my friends. When the weather gets better, my money usually disappears from my bank account because I'm not cooking or cleaning or doing anything like that when it's warm outside. But, looking forward to this weekend. Pacers wrapping up the regular season, at least at home. And then on top of that, on the road and getting on to the playoffs. So watching a lot of playing games probably next week for all of us. But, for our purposes, I'm just ready for that sea of what? Gold, I would imagine it is, or blue for that home opener.
The city unis, right? Come playoff time. So I don't know. Are they going to go with like a neon yellow out instead
or
of the gold
white out or something? I don't know, but I'm excited either way for the home court advantage.
Is Easter the worst holiday? Not from what it means, but just for like a holiday standpoint, because you don't get the day off of work the next day.
Quite the hot
take
there
Sunday.
for Mark Dayton.
I know.
I'm glad you clarified.
I was about to say, hold on, Lord, if you listening, strike that way.
Not for what it means. Important clarification from Mark Dayton there.
Well,
here's our audience.
Here's where it came for me, and I'm glad you said this, Mark, because earlier you mentioned that your kids have Easter egg hunts going this weekend, and it reminded me that it's always my responsibility to get Sunday Easter reservations at our favorite little establishment, and I have to do that today. So thank you for bringing that up, because I otherwise would not have remembered that.
Well, Mark, honestly, Easter plans
it would have been trouble for me at home.
Easter plans could be at Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
That's true.
So again, game one will be either Saturday or Sunday next weekend. So
I didn't even think about that. I got to go see my family next Sunday. Oh,
we
Lord,
are not
please.
used to having home playoff games in this market this early in the playoffs. It'll be the first time the Pacers have hosted since 2013-14 season. In games 1 and 2. So if I'm projecting out a little bit here for planning purposes for people, next weekend, either the 19th or the 20th will be game 1. And then I would probably then look at like Monday the 21st, Tuesday the 22nd, maybe Wednesday the 23rd. That would be game 2 inside of Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So we'll await the official schedule coming up. Hopefully it's Sunday. I don't know. Maybe they wait till after the playing games on that. But a little bit of a schedule look.
Dang, I might be busy, on Easter. I had to hit the family with the typical one in the YouTube chats, like maybe you'll cancel like JMV, like you did with JMV and playing basketball. And I'm like, you know what, Alex Laverne, I might actually do this to my family and be like, you know what, the Pacers at home opener,
texting the family's easier than texting JMV.
Yeah, driving 2.5 hours to go see people and watch the game with them who are not interested in it as much as I am. Mama might have to take one for the team on it. We'll see. We'll see.
A moment ago, you were going to take us down a little kicker rabbit hole.
Yeah,
Kevin
I think
Bowen.
what's difficult right now about the Colts situation is, again, Spencer Schrader right now is the lone kicker on the roster. I think we all agree they need to add a kicker at some point. And when you say the question, should your team draft a kicker? I think it's one of the most frightening questions in the history of the NFL. Should you draft a kicker? It's an important position, yeah. Look at all these games decided by one score in the NFL. Having a reliable kicker can really help you out. It can be the difference in multiple wins within a season.
Yeah.
So I don't want to ignore that, but drafting a kicker does not mean it's all cured. It's all perfect. All of our issues are solved. Brought up the stat earlier. Matt Gay was drafted. James pointed out, 5th-round pick in 2019 by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He is one of 12 kickers that have been drafted since that 2019 draft. And if you look at what they've done in the NFL, those 12 kickers, Matt Gay's got the second highest field goal percentage of any of them. And he just got cut. So when you think about it, when those 12 teams sat in a room and said, guys, we're going to spend a draft pick on a kicker, they thought, we're not going to have to worry about that position for a decade, maybe even longer than that. And yet, all of them, besides, and the only kicker that has a better field goal percentage than Matt Gay is a rookie kicker in Jacksonville last year. Remember Cam Little? He had a really nice rookie season. That's it. So all these other kickers have either struggled more than Matt Gay or just been flat out cut or traded by their respective teams. So I bring that up to say this, and I think it's a fair question you asked, Jeff, of should the Colts draft a kicker coming up, a couple Saturdays from now. Just because you do it, though, doesn't mean
No guarantee.
that position is solved, which I think frustrates the hell out of people.
And to get back again, we overlook this sometimes because they're kickers. But to have a really good, reliable one, it's not always an accident. I mean, you look at Kansas City, all the close games they've won, to have Patrick Mahomes have the ability to constantly bring you back to field goal range with 8 seconds to go. And how often does Harrison Butker just make it happen, right?
Yeah,
Same in Baltimore with Justin Tucker.
Right.
How many games have they won over the last decade because Lamar Jackson and back in the day Joe Flacco even got them into field goal position to win a game at the very end?
James, let's go one step further, too. The Colts, in my opinion, maybe you could throw Baker Mayfield in this mix. I would say the Colts have beat one upper echelon quarterback in the last 2 years. That was Lamar Jackson in Baltimore last September.
Who got that done, by the way?
Matt Gay, with one of the historic kicking days you'll ever see, 4 field goals of north of 50. So by no means am I undermining kicker. I think the difficulty is, Justin Tucker was undrafted. Where did Adam Vinatieri come from? I mean, just because, again, you draft one doesn't mean you find the answer. So I will be very interested now how the Colts address another kicker. Do they draft one? Do they go undrafted for a second straight year like Spencer Schrader? Or is there a veteran cast-off that they go with?
And JB, to your point too, it's very possible with Chris Ballard, they have 7 draft picks right now, 1 in each round. It's very possible they end up with 8 or 9 before it's all said and done. If they do that, it feels much easier to take a kicker on day 3 if you're now looking at 8 or 9 different picks, correct?
Yeah, certainly more darts at the board and an opportunity for you to upgrade at that position or at least bring in more competition. So we'll see. But I also think KB pointed out a very good point, when it comes to these one-score games in the NFL. I believe every Colts win last year was 1 possession. Like they went 8-9, all 8 wins were within 1 possession. So the margin for error in this league, you talk about taking certain teams in bets, Mark. I feel like in football, I would never take certain bet. Like it doesn't matter what week it is, what day it is. That's what makes the NFL great. Is just any given Sunday, it can be close, and it usually is close. And the close wins are the teams that normally are the better ones. So we'll see how it all shakes out. But I definitely think that kicking is now a position that we were already paying attention to, but paying more attention to because of just the magnitude of cutting a guy that you signed to such a lucrative deal just 2 years ago.
Well, we went over those win totals last week that the Colts were out, and we're like, is 7.5 crazy, or is that right on the button? And now I don't know. I don't know if the Matt Gay release changes anything. I can't imagine it does. But
I think what's different again about this Matt Gay situation than necessarily center. I brought this up earlier in the show. In a way, what you said with center is Ryan Kelly is too expensive and maybe too old and not at the level of play, but largely he's too expensive to continue to have on our roster. That's kind of what you said about Matt Gay. The difference being Tanner Bortolini is much different than Spencer Schrader. Like Tanner Bortolini had 5 rookie starts. That's a nice sample size. Spencer Schrader had 5 kicks, period, and none of them from longer than 45 yards. So, while Matt Gay certainly was not living up to his contract, the replacement for him is not necessarily one that would make me sleep uber easy here moving forward. Having said all that, I would not draft a kicker.
Quick update for you, Kevin. Easy for me to say. Justin Rose is birdie
15
early.
15-footer on the second hole. I've got
8
him
under now.
Dialed up right here. He's got about a 40-footer on 3, which would be a difficult 2-putt to try and save his par there. But yes, Justin Rose out of the gate has moved up to 8 under.
So we'll check in on that before we leave. We've got the Scotty special coming up on Friday. It's the Jiffy Lube Pop Quiz. Are you ready to go for this today, James?
Oh, I'm going to ace it like I always do.
Freebie Friday.
239-1070. You want to get in on it? Do that right now. 239-1070. You will get the Jiffy Lube oil change. Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985, and we'll give you all 5 questions. See if you can pass it next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Weekend with a free oil change from Jiffy Lube on Freebie Friday, but we do want you to participate in the pop quiz just to see if you can earn it anyway. I need a number between 1 and 8, James Boyd.
7.
All right, caller number 7 at 239-1070. Who do we have today, Mark Knighton?
I doubt it's Jeremiah Johnson, but his name is JJ. So let's see what JJ's got.
Is this Jeremiah Johnson or just JJ?
This is JJ, Jeffrey Jackson.
I like it.
I see you guys every morning. Appreciate you guys. How you doing?
We're
Thank
doing
you, JJ.
well.
Appreciate that. Happy Friday to you.
Mark, happy Friday. Mark Duncan, if you remember, I'm the Cubs guy. Fly the W, man.
Hell yeah, man. Let's keep it rolling.
There you go.
Well, JJ, I hope your pop quiz goes a little over here on this Friday morning.
Wow. With that, James, would you like to kick us off here with question number 1?
Let's do it. Question number 1. The Pacers beat the Cavaliers at the Fieldhouse last night to improve to 49-31 on the season. Who was the last Pacers coach to win 50 games in a regular season? Rick Carlisle, Nate McMillan, Frank Vogel, or Isaiah Thomas?
I think it was 2008, so I'm going to try Frank Vogel.
All right.
Kevin?
Got to read a book on Frank Vogel coaching some of the stars that he has in his NBA life. Okay, JJ, number 2. Pacers franchise record for wins in a regular season, ABA or NBA, is 61. Who was the head coach who won 61 games in a regular season? Was it Slick? Was it Larry Brown? Was it Larry Bird? Or was it Rick Carlisle?
Rick Leonard.
Scotty, I wouldn't have gotten that right. I would not have gotten that right at all. Sorry, JJ. Who'd you say?
Well, it was fun while it lasted.
Sorry, there's your hint.
Sorry, JJ.
From one Cubs fan to another, there's your hint.
You were
JJ.
breaking up a little bit. Who'd you say?
Lick. Crap.
We do appreciate the one cuss word that we're probably allowed to say on air, so thank you for going there. Tuesday at 8, Mark. Do you know who we have next week?
Yeah, Rick Carlisle is on every Tuesday at 8 on this program.
Rick Carlisle.
All right. Justin Rose, as we were just saying, is the leader after round 1 of the Masters. He shot a 7-under par 65 yesterday to take a 3-shot lead over 3 golfers, including defending champion Scotty Scheffler. Who was the last golfer to win the Masters after finishing the opening round over par? Was it A, Nick Faldo, B, Tiger Woods, C, Zach Johnson, or D, Phil Mickelson?
Zach Johnson.
All right. Is it me, number 4?
You're it.
Rose holds the outright or shared lead after the first round of the Masters for the 5th time in his career, setting a new record. Whose record did he break? Jack Nicklaus, Arnold Palmer, Jordan Spieth, or Gary Player?
Don't overthink it, JJ.
Jordan Spieth. Jack Nicklaus.
Oh, hey. All right.
At the buzzer, we'll take that.
Nice little audible.
All right.
All right, JJ, to round it out, in 1996, Red Wings won their 60th game of the season. Only 4 teams, including the Red Wings team, won 60 games in an NHL regular season. Which of the following franchises has never won 60? Bruins, Canadiens, Oilers, or Lightning?
That's not an overthinker, but this is a Hail Mary because I'm not a big hockey fan. Can I have the 4 one more time, please?
Yeah, you're going to go Bruins, Canadiens, Oilers, or Lightning. And I think if you think about the prize that you're getting for this pop quiz, you'll get this question right.
Oilers.
All right. Let's see how he did, guys. Question number 1. The Pacers beat the Cavs at the Fieldhouse last night. They're 49-30. Who's the last Pacers coach to win 50 games in a regular season? He said Frank Vogel.
Smothered chicken! Please give me some smothered chicken on that one.
The greatest call of all time, and he was correct.
There you go, JJ. Franchise record for the Pacers for wins in a regular season, ABA or NBA, is 61. Who was the head coach who won 61 games in a regular season? His phone was breaking up with his original answer. He started thinking again, and he came up with Rick Carlisle.
Well, it was fun while it lasted.
It was Rick Carlisle. All right, and question number 3. Justin Rose, leading after round 1 of the Masters, shot a 7-under par yesterday. 3-shot lead over 3 golfers, including defending champ Scotty Scheffler. Who was the last golfer to win the Masters after finishing the opening round over par? I believe he said Zach Johnson.
God Tiger.
Oh, it was a guy named Tiger Woods. Was the last guy to do that. An opening round 74 en route to his 4th green jacket.
That's crazy.
Since 2005. Question number 4. Rose holds the outright or shared lead after the first round of the Masters for the 5th time in his career. That's a new record. Whose record did he break? I said, don't overthink this one, and he said Jordan Spieth. Jack Nicklaus was what I was looking for there.
Yeah, but he did very quickly
pivoted.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we can give him benefit of the doubt.
We'll give him
there.
the Jack Nicklaus there. And then hockey question, which, James, you were lost to begin with, right?
Yeah, I'm never going to get the hockey questions right.
All right. The hockey ones just stink.
Hockey is fantastic. Are Scotty and I the only guys here that love the National Hockey League? You and me, Scotty, that's it. Anyway, on this day in 1996, the Detroit Red Wings won their 60th game of the season. Only 4 teams, including the 95-96 Wings, have won 60 games in an NHL regular season. Which of the following NHL franchises has never won 60 games in a regular season? He actually said the Edmonton Oilers.
Yes.
He was correct.
Yes.
I believe Wayne Gretzky was on that team, was he not? Back in 1983-84. Their record then was 57-18-5. Yeah.
Oil change is the thought there with the hint for those.
That's
I'll
what
say
it was.
this, Scotty, I appreciate these quizzes because it does make me smarter. Every Friday, I should stockpile these so when I'm standing around mingling with people, I sound a little smarter when I can sprinkle a couple of these stats in.
I will say, too, Scotty, that 1996 Detroit Red Wings team is the most hated team I've ever had in the National Hockey League. So thank you for bringing them back up in that context. I appreciate that. We'll do it every Friday for the Freebie Friday Jiffy Lube prize pack. And, of course, Jiffy Lube is Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985. I think I told you guys last week. 2 weeks ago, visited Jiffy Lube and got everything good to go in my vehicle. So we are on the way there. All right. For the weekend, we've got NBA tonight over at the Fieldhouse, Fan Appreciation Night, the Indiana Pacers against the Orlando Magic. The question is, who's going to play in this game between the two teams?
Yeah, a lot of iffy questions. Orlando, they've listed all their guys, all their starters, I should say, as questionable. They're locked into the 7 seed. They'll host a play-in game. The Pacers, not locked into a seed just yet. I don't think there's an overwhelming difference between 3 or 4, though. Rick Carlisle, extremely non-committal last night when asked about his lineups here for tonight and then Sunday at 1 o'clock. Would you lean one way or the other, Jane? I mean, would you sit everybody? Do you look at just Siakam or, I don't know, guys that have struggled, guys that have dealt with injuries?
I probably look to sit him just because, again, of that draft positioning. I'm just wondering.
So you would sit the full starting lineup?
Yeah, I'd sit him.
Yeah.
Stay healthy, help your draft positioning, get
for
the young
both
guys
Friday
some rep.
and Sunday?
Probably, yeah. Want to avoid the injury bug.
Yeah, I think for the Pacers, the 50 games is nice if you get that. But
yeah, tell me about it.
But right, I know. Well, they won last. You tell me how much you were sweating in the middle of the fourth quarter last night.
I was sweating until the Cavs threw the ball to a guy named Tyson at the end of the game, and I thought, yeah, I don't think this is going to end well for him.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway, 6:30 airtime here on the Fan. Game tips off just after 7 o'clock over at the Fieldhouse, and then they'll finish the season coming up on Sunday at Cleveland. It'll probably look a lot like last night's game, maybe with less Pacers starters.
Pretty much, but Johnny Furphy, Kevin's hopes are tied to you.
Let's go.
All right.
Down under, Mr. Furphy.
Kevin, one other final reminder. We've got Chuck Strong over at West 56 tonight, and if you want to be involved in that, all you got to do is text all capital letters IU Cancer to 79230. IU Cancer to 79230. It's been going on for a long time, and we appreciate that and love it.
And we've tweeted out that info from our show account, retweeted it. So certainly an unbelievable event. Everybody have a great Masters weekend, and looking forward to talking about it all on Monday.
All right. You've got Jay Query coming your way at noon today after 2 hours of ESPN. And then I think, is Brian Noe in for John again today? No, John is out. It's Greg Rakestraw this afternoon.